Guerrilla cricket. Whoa. Guerrilla cricket. Whoa. Guerrilla. Take guard, man the barricades, patrol the cover boundary. At last the time is come, this is a cricketing emergency. Hear this call to arms for every cricket revolutionary. Take up your bats and stumps for the test match insurgency. At first they tried to silence us, but we would not be silenced. They threatened us with lies, so we threatened them with violence. Che Guevara, Sangakkara, Joseph Stalin, Douglas Jardine, Robespierre, Darrell Hare, Vladimir Lenin, O'Brien Kevin, guerrilla cricket. It's not about the winning, it's about how many rules you break. Even in cricket commentary, this is the best advice to take. Pick guerrilla cricket, it's the finest choice you'll ever make. There's so much more to cricket than rev counters and a slice of cake. But first they tried to sanitize us and clean up our act. But people like it filthy, and we know that for a fact. Fidel Castro, Lenny Pasco, Carlos the Jackal, Umar Akmal, Mahatma Gandhi, Grant and Andy, Brendan Behan, Austin Ian, guerrilla cricket. Stick with us, cause you know we're not the kind of thing that you see on the TV and the radio. So vive la revolution. First they tried to buy us, but we would not be bought. Okay, we were, but then we ran away, and we will not be caught. We would not give up the ghost when they left us all for dead. They decapitated us, but we just grew another head. Chairman Mao, Jamie Howe, Ho Chi Minh, Asif Din, Václav Havel, Graham Saville, No Surrender, Percy Fender, Che Guevara, Sangakkara, Joseph Stalin, Douglas Jardine, Robespierre, Darrell Hare, Vladimir Lenin, O'Brien Kevin, guerrilla cricket.
Day 3 dawns bright and sunny, which is good news for us, less good news for England. They would surely prefer the gloom that enabled Jason Holder to impose a stranglehold on the home side and leaves West Indies 147 behind with 9 wickets intact. Good morning, good afternoon, good dawn, good dusk, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Guerrilla Cricket. I'm Gorilla Hendo, Nigel Henderson, and we're back at the Biosecure Bowl for what will surely be our first unbroken day of Test cricket of the summer. Woohoo! Aside from the great cricket, we have a lunchtime interview with Annie Chave, who will tell you all about county cricket matters. And at tea, Dave Brooke will be talking to Roland Butcher and Toby Radford. And I have those two splendid humans alongside me, virtually speaking, to start proceedings. Hello, Annie!
Hello everyone. It's great to be back.
It's great to have her back, and she has the finest microphone in all of Guerrilla Cricket, and we're very jealous. Dave, how are you this morning?
Well, I'm good, thanks, Hendo. I've upgraded my microphone after a few chippy remarks on the first day. Unfortunately, now I can't hear a damn thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, you never listen to us anyway, do you, Dave? You just spout, so that'll be fine. What do we think of the game situation? I think you may have said something there off mic. Anyway, I don't blame you. What do we think of the game situation, Dave? First of all, West Indies, they must be delighted.
Yeah, I think they would be delighted after a brilliant day yesterday, and I just feel very, very pleased for Captain Jason Holder. People were talking about an injury coming into this series. Would he be effective? hadn't bowled very much in the warm-up games. But what a day he had. You know, and he was saying before the game started that perhaps, on reflection, he has been a bit underestimated as a cricketer.
Oh, yes.
Number one in the all-rounder in the world. I think yesterday was a tipping point. I don't think he'll ever be underestimated again. I know he's announced himself before, but it's just the consistency of his performances, the way he bowled and the way he captained that side. You know, the way he came on when that partnership looked dangerous between Stokes and Butler.
Yeah.
And he came on and fixed the issue himself, got rid of both of them in that spell. You know, and his best bowling figures of his career. So he'll be delighted. And I think when the captain's in form, you know, it's great for the rest of the team.
Yeah, and I thought, when he took the wicket of Ollie Pope, I thought that is a glorious delivery. Pope was looking pretty good. He'd come out really eager to get on with things. But then he got Stokes with a beauty, and Joss Butler as well, your beloved Joss, Annie. And Joss had been looking good at that point, hadn't he?
Yeah, I'm pleased that Joss was looking good, obviously, and I'm pleased he got out to a good ball, and him and Stokes had a good partnership. So, you know, I feel quite pleased with how it went in some ways, because I'm very much a West Indies fan, so I'm really pleased that Jason Holder did so well. What a guy! What a hero!
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Hendo, it doesn't so much happen here, but in the Caribbean, he's not, you know, well respected. You know, in my experience, I spent 2 seasons commenting on first-class cricket over there.
Yeah.
And I was constantly having to defend him against suggestions that, you know, because his pace, he's not a sort of West Indies traditional pacer. He's more your Glenn McGrath, Angus Fraser type bowler, albeit from a great height. And because of that, he's seen as, you know, he's not really compared favourably to the others. But, you know, if people were billing this particular match as a sort of match-up between the two captains, dual rounders, number 1 in the world, number 2 in the world, Holder v Stokes, there's no doubt who won the first round. No,
definitely not. And will he be ruining his decision?
What to bat first?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that will grow in scrutiny over the next few days. If England have another bad day today, really, a lot depends on the 2 men on the way to the wicket, who are Craig Brathwaite and Shea Hope. Of course, England have nightmares about those 2 at Headingley. Shall we jingle them up?
Spelling ain't strong. Can you tell me if I spelled your name all wrong? I wrote it down with a C before. Now is it 2 G's? I wanna be sure. Great Brathwaite is hard to spell, it's true, but now I've got it right. Yeah, Great Brathwaite is hard to spell, it's true. Now I've got it right.
Shadow is replaced as a cloud goes away from the Rose Bowl. The sun is out. The first ball of the morning will be bowled by Mark Wood. He's in, he bowls, he finds the edge, and a diving attempt to at least stop that. It dropped too short for it to be a catch. Ben Stokes it was, tumbling away to his right. They will come through for a single first run of the day, but a little bit of encouragement for Wood. Brathwaite moves to 21. Hope is on 3. Let's jingle up Mark Wood, shall we?
Do you know Mark Wood? Yes, he is an England bowler, quite good and pretty quick. So just a normal guy. Of course, except for just one thing. What? He thinks that he's a horse. Right. What?
Yes, it did change the field almost immediately. Now, what is happening? And that has come from mid-wicket go into a second gully. So we have 2 slips and 2 gullies. And we also have a short square leg now, which I imagine is Ollie Pope. He normally gets that job. And Wood advances again. Bowls to Hope. Full driving at this one and beaten. I think maybe he played over the top of it. And it goes through to Butler. There is no run. And we'll be joined by anyone on the Twitter sphere this morning, Annie.
We've been joined by Andrew Veer, who says, finally able to listen back at the actual office. So somebody's gone back to work, obviously. And Leah's birthday witch says, good morning, happy birthday to Sunil Gavaskar.
Oh, right, goodness. How old would he be, I wonder? Have to work that one out. Must be 70s by now. Hope waits for Wood. Just a hint of in-swing there. Maybe a reverse swing. This is good pace. A little bit wide of the off stump. Goes through the keeper. And those were the 3 balls needed to be bowled after we came off rain and bad light last night. That is the end of the over. West Indies have moved to 58 for 1. More tweets.
We've also got Mog, of course. Hello,
Hey.
Mog. I haven't spoken to you for ages. Hello from a festering plague pit of vile, life-shattering disease and rank human stupidity. Still
Otherwise
better than Sydney, though, he says.
Otherwise known as Melbourne, yeah. Yeah, it is a bit. It's all gone a bit horrible there, hasn't it? In the tower blocks they've got there. Anyway, it looks like Jimmy Anderson will continue, and he has a jingle that goes a little bit like this.
As you can see, we've had our eye on you for some time now, Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson, Mr. Anderson, Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes, Jimmy Anderson, who was a little bit unlucky at times last night, but finally got rid of John Campbell. Bowled really well, 1 for 17 from 8 overs, and he will continue. Are you a big fan of the Anderson headband, Annie?
No, I'm not a fan of any headbands, really. I think they look very silly.
He's in, he bowls to Brathwaite. Has he got an inside edge there? No, apparently not, Richard Illingworth says. And then there are quizzical looks all round. Stokes is saying to Butler, what do you think? Butler's thinking, well, I'm not really sure. 6 seconds, 5 seconds. Yes, they are going to review. Remember, of course, that we got 3 potential reviews per side in the COVID era. And so we are going upstairs. We're going upstairs there for a jingle, hopefully, that will go a little bit like this.
Better out than in, better in than out. Ah, better out than in, better in than out. In, out, shake it all about.
Ooh, I don't think that has got an edge. I think that's, it's very difficult to tell. We're going to have to wait to see Ultra Edge. It's gone between bat and thigh, but I think it's missed everything. Just about nothing on Ultra Edge at all. Then may have just flicked the pocket of Brathwaite's trousers on the right leg, and so I think that is going to be a wasted review for him.
Yeah, last time I looked, Hendo, you couldn't get out by getting the ball off your trouser pocket. But the jingle I'm most looking forward to hearing is the crucial first hour jingle, because I think the answer to Annie's point about, the toss, whether it was the right decision, we'll know by lunchtime, won't we? We'll know whether this session is absolutely key.
Yeah, it's a very good point, Dave. In comes Anderson again. 2 slips only. This one angled down the leg side, and it may indeed have brushed the other pocket as it went through to Joss Butler. And there is no run. It was a cracking delivery from Jimmy Anderson. It really was. And I thought last night when he got in the zone against Campbell, he was bowling quite quickly as well. And when he bowls quickly and he gets the ball to do what he normally gets it to do, he is a really difficult prospect.
Tell you what, it's 5-0 to Holder, isn't it, at the moment? With
Yep.
reviews.
Yeah, it is indeed, isn't it? That's a good point. So England are just down to their 2 now. Nothing quite going right for Ben Stokes and his captaincy debut. Here comes Anderson again into Brathwaite. A little bit too short. He gets back in behind this one, has plenty of time to just block it back up the pitch, and there is no run. Enthusiasm, encouragement from Ben Stokes in the slips. But, England do, as Dave says, need to get 1 or 2 in this, perhaps in this first hour. Otherwise, it could be a long day in the field. We shall see. Encouraging so far. They've found their way past the bat a couple of times already. Here comes Anderson again. Bowls full, clipped by Brathwaite, but straight to Jofra Archer at mid-on. And again, there is no run. Annie, have you got Crick Tracker up?
I have got Crick Tracker up. I can see the three of us. I just can't see any comments at the moment.
Okay, well that's good.
But I'm working on that because I have got the comments now. So hey, how
We'll
good
come
is
to a
that?
few of those. We'll come to a few of those at the end of the over then. Absolutely. A few clouds in the sky, but mainly blue. Here comes Anderson again. Bowls to Brathwaite. That one seemed to keep a little bit low, and he jabbed down on it. Got his pad into a slightly awkward position. He did need to get something on that in the end, otherwise he was right in front. He plays it out on the onside. Again, there is no run.
You know, Hendo, we're talking about the reviews going against Ben's, going against England.
Yeah.
A lot of discussion in the Caribbean about the quality of this home umpiring. It's the first test since 1994 where we haven't had neutral umpires. They're not happy about it in the Caribbean at all.
Yeah,
That's
it's
interesting.
awkward, isn't it?
Anderson bowls and nibbles it away off the pitch, and Brathwaite adjusts to fiddle it into the offside. That is the end of the over. Tell us who's joined us on Crick Tracker.
Okay, we've got Sila Sheikh says hi, and Najib Safi says hi. We've got Nitin Joshi who says West Indies has a chance to take this, get a good lead, and a little bit more, but quite a lot more, so I won't go into that right now.
Okay.
We've also on Twitter, we've got Leah's asking for our opinion on a very awful mask by the look of it. And Ravina says, huzzah, it's Annie, morning all. But
Morning.
me especially, obviously.
No, obviously.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's break off as Wood starts a new over, bowling to Shea Hope. Shea Hope goes back, defends the ball outside the off stump, into the covers. Again, no run. Back to the tweets if you want, Annie. We'll try and rush through. We normally get a rush at this time of day. It's the rush hour. It's the tweeting rush hour.
Says, I really don't like spiky brassicas, particularly cabbage. I think that's in reply to the mask that we saw.
Well, I think it's always a good sign when we start talking about cabbages when we're like 3 overs into the day. Actually, I think we might come back to that at about 20 past 5 when West Indies 290 for 3. In comes Wood again, bowls to Hope. Hope goes back. Good pace, but it's not really doing anything. And Hope is in behind it, pushing onto the onside. 88 miles an hour. Wood just winding himself up.
I mean, the quality of the umpiring, Hendo, was pretty ordinary yesterday, wasn't it? I mean, it was a bit farcical with Campbell. They couldn't wait to give him out. They're giving him out all the time. Eventually,
third time lucky, wasn't it?
Turned out to be correct, but it struck at some pretty poor decisions, I thought, from the umpires.
I think I can understand why in the Caribbean they might be talking that way, and I'm sure if it was the other way around, we might be saying the same thing. In comes Wood, wide on the crease, turned by Hope behind square leg. The man from short square leg, Ollie Pope, goes after it, but I think it's going to be signalled as a leg by. Yes, it is. 59 for 1. I totally understand that, Dave, but I actually thought the umpires were a bit unlucky. I think almost all of the ones that we gave out were out. We gave them out at full pace, but there was certainly a couple of times I thought Kettleborough, who's normally one of the best umpires in the world, perhaps decreed that there'd been a potential inside edge, a very thin edge, and that's perhaps why he didn't give them. And that's what the review is there for, in a way. So yes, it does look on paper. It certainly looks on paper as if they were giving decisions for England. Wood in bowls, defended by Brathwaite into the covers, and there is no run. I imagine you were stirring the pot when you were on Sports
I was
last night.
On the contrary, Hender, I was actually trying to diffuse the situation, and I took the line that Mike Atherton took in the Times, which was, maybe the umpires were as rusty as the players.
Yes.
That's a fair point.
Because, no, I mean, the English umpires are known, these are two very respected umpires on the world panel, and I'm sure they wouldn't be biased. It just looked poor, didn't it? It looked bad.
Yeah, because every decision was against them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wood in again, bowls a bouncer. Brathwaite rolls into a sort of fetus-like position to avoid it, and through it goes, or over his head it goes to Joss Butler. No run, 59 for 1. If you're just joining us this morning, we should say that the GPL is open. It's been a bit haphazard the last couple of days with teams being on and off due to the weather, but I think we're going to get a full day today, based on what we have now and what the forecast is. So if you want to take part, go to guerrillacricket.com/competitions, follow the instructions. You have to estimate how many runs you think there will be scored in the day, and you have until lunch to do it. Edged, and has that gone down at slip? It may well have done, or it may have just dropped short, but Wood is standing there with hands on hips, and he's looking back to see whether Dominic Sibley at first slip should have clutched that. We'll be able to tell you when we see the replay, but it was a genuine edge, and I think it may have just dropped short. Yes, Ben Stokes at second slip was just going across him, maybe put him off a little bit, and the first slip being that little bit further back, it did just bounce in front of Sibley. So annoying for England that someone of the pace of Wood can find the edge and it's still not carry. And Wood smiles, but it's a smile of frustration more than anything.
You don't see anything else from him, do you, but smiles, really?
He's a very happy man, isn't he? And I think it's to do with the fact that he supports AFC Wimbledon.
Do you reckon?
I think that's what
I don't see you smiling in the same way.
Well, he's getting excited about the new stadium that is taking shape in Plough Lane. Two slips in the gully. In comes Anderson. Bowls. Oh, down the leg side. Hope tried to get bad on it, but couldn't. It was too quick for him. 82 miles an hour, that one.
Question for you, Hendo.
Yep.
From the green room, from the virtual green room, is a good one. Why shouldn't the West Indies have been allowed to have brought a couple of umpires with them, who could have gone into quarantine with the rest of the squad?
That is a
very interesting.
Very interesting question, isn't it? Although do you think the West Indies then would they be actually too close to the team then? If he'd have to spend all his time with the team. I mean, that would be, that could be construed as this one is outside the off stump and left alone. That could be construed as more dangerous in a way, couldn't it?
Because they could have done what Phil Simmons did and spend no time with the team at all.
How would they have done that then? I mean,
stay in your room on the balcony.
Yeah, it'd have been pretty boring for the West Indies umpire, wouldn't it? I mean, no contact with humans, or out of his touch with his loved ones. Not really even able to play on the arcade games that they seem to have installed in the hotel. I'm not sure, but I can see your point. Wood in again. No, it's Anderson starting a new over. Bowls to Hope, wraps him on the pad as he comes forward with a little bit of
Hendo.
Yeah,
they could have brought some alternative like entertainment and games for the umpires. Jigsaw puzzles,
Crosswords.
Yeah, what do umpires get off on? That's what we need to know, isn't it? In their spare time. What do umpires get up to in their spare time?
Well, you can answer that question by reading Gunnar Gould's new book. It's very entertaining.
Oh
yes, absolutely.
I would recommend that.
Yep. I've heard good things about that. In comes Anderson again. Bowls. And goes through Hope there as he plays a backward defensive shot. And it ends up in the hands of Butler. No edge. 83 miles an hour from him. Now I can bring you interesting information about umpires from the Caribbean. There was talk apparently of Joel Wilson travelling to the West Indies. Don't know how far those discussions got. Some talk that Wilson didn't want to travel due to COVID. The ICC have decided on all home umpires as a one-size-fits-all, which, if that continues for months, I don't think anyone can really complain about it. At least we've got cricket. Here comes Anderson again. Bowls, wobble in the air from him, but Shea Hope is right behind that in very technically correct style, defending out in the offside. There is
if England toured Pakistan and Shaka Rana was appointed for 5 tests, you wouldn't have a problem with that either.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't get a lot out of Shaku Rana these days. It would be very hard to get a decision from him, based on where he probably is. Anyway, Shea Hope, 200s, 550s in Test cricket. Those 200s on the same Test. Disappointing average of 27. He needs to knuckle down. Anderson is into him, and he does knuckle down. Defends this one. Good ball outside the off stump. Into the covers it goes. End of the over. 61 for 1. Now I want to see if on the Twitter sphere people have come back with the hobby of international umpires.
Well, not that I've seen yet, but I go through some. Evil Scooter says, morning all, happy first sun-filled day of international cricket since March. Yeah, that's true. Martin Lawrence says, Annie Chave, thanks for entertaining and supporting me during COVID. Thank you, Martin. Khan says, good morning from North Carolina, USA. Just got back from a grocery run. Where do I go to find you on Crit Tracker?
Well, you go to their videos, and you should find us there, on their Facebook page, in fact. Go to their Facebook page.
Yeah, there's Facebook as well.
Wood starts new over. Pushed into the offside, they hurry through for a quick single, and that's well judged by Brathwaite, despite the presence of a wide-ish mid-off. He had to move slightly to his left to field. The score moves on to 62 for 1. Brathwaite 24. I was talking about the GPL, wasn't I? You have until lunch at 1 o'clock to make your guess. And if you get it on the nose, you get all the money that's in the pot. And if two of you get it, then you share the money that's in the pot. And in the pot at the moment is £35 sterling. In comes Wood again. Bowls onto the back foot goes Hope. And with the angle, he plays this past the man at short square leg towards mid-wicket. And there is no run. That was the quickest delivery of the day so far from Wood, 93.4 miles an hour. So he's getting his wheels greased. And at the moment, he's being defied by a very solid-looking West Indies number 1 and number 3. Shakaruna, if you don't know, did shuffle off this mortal coil in 2001. In comes Wood again, past the umpire. Bowls a short one, and he's a very flamboyant pull shot played by Hope, which goes almost nowhere. I don't quite know where that hit the bottom edge of the bat as he lifted that front knee and went all Gordon Greenwich on us. And it popped up in the air, in fact. And had we had a silly mid on, it might have been a catch, but unfortunately it went too far away from the man at short square leg, and it was too short of the man at mid wicket.
That's why Wood put his hands on his knees, I think.
Yeah, he was excited for a moment.
Yes.
But the smile is still there. He's still smiling. Here comes Wood again. In bowls outside the off stump. A late decision to leave there by Hope. I thought he was going to be tempted to go after that one. But right at the last moment, he snatched the bat out of the way.
Wood is unsettling Hope here with his pace. Drew him into that poor, as you say, ball shot. Very lucky to still be there, and almost had a little poke at that one as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He was interested in that one, but a very good split-second decision to get his bat out of the way. And that may, in fact, have been the fastest ball of the day, 95.1, I think. So he's really ramping it up in the morning sunshine. Here he comes again. Past the umpire, goes wide on the crease, driven by Hope, but straight back at Wood, who grasps the ball on his right-hand side. And
Hope needs to prove that he is a test player, doesn't he?
Well, he has to prove it all over again.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that was a one-day shot before.
Yeah, I think it's difficult, isn't it? You do get players like this. I mean, I think of Rob Key a little bit as being a man who got some good scores for England, but never really cemented his place. And Hope is struggling in similar vein. He waits now for Wood's final ball of the over. He's in. It's outside the off stump again. He leaves as he had more time to see that one. It was a little bit shorter. And through it goes to Butler, 62 for 1.
Endo, in Hope's defence, West Indies don't play a lot of Test cricket, so he hasn't had a chance to really get himself back into form in Test matches.
That's true. Yes, we did mention.
And in one-day cricket, he very much plays the anchor role. People bat around him, so he bats like a Test cricketer in one day.
Friend him, David. I agree.
In the last calendar year, he's got more runs. I think he's right up there with one of the top aggregates in one-day international cricket.
So I suppose that's the problem for the West Indies, isn't it? That actually they don't play enough Test cricket.
But it all goes back to the ICC division of revenues.
Yes.
In this world of Black Lives Matter, it's about time we had fair distribution of revenues to all cricketing nations.
Oh, absolutely.
Anderson starts a new over, bowls to Brathwaite, back of a length. He's in behind it, defending straight back up the pitch. Now I have news from Knuckle Pandy, who's at home today, about Rudy Kurtzen and what he gets up to in his spare time. He apparently keeps bees. So he's often
Not really spare time, is it?
That would be difficult to
carry with you.
Yeah, that would be a difficult task for Steve Elworthy.
Yeah, he might get stopped at Heathrow with a lot of bees in his bonnet, as it were.
You can come and see me.
We could flicked away a straight ball, but it's going to bring runs for Brathwaite. Chased by Ollie Pope, back from short square leg. They get through for a couple.
I've heard of some antisocial hobbies before. That takes the biscuit.
Hey.
We've got a bee's nest, is what I'm trying to say. So that's why you could come and see me.
You've got bees as well.
Yeah. No, we've got a bee's nest. We
bee's nest. Okay. Knuckle is now rowing backwards to say that I've got no evidence of this. So I don't know where he's going. I think he's just making it up. Let's make up hobbies for international umpires, and even if they're retired or dead. In comes Anderson, bowls to Brathwaite, who's right forward, steers this up to mid-off, and there is no run.
This is good from Leah. She says, somewhere in the Caribbean, Joel Wilson is giggling gleefully, safe in the knowledge that his place on the elite panel is safe.
Yes, well, I think it's good, actually, because it's horrible to see one or two umpires singled out as being, in some way not quite as good as the others, and he's taken a lot of flack over the last few years. Anderson turns at the top of his run, comes into Brathwaite again. It's Fuller, and he meets this nicely with the full face of the bat. It means that man at mid-on, Mark Wood, has to do some very skillful fielding. He had to move very sharply to his left and tumbled away, prevented them getting anything more on the scorecard.
Just don't injure himself. We don't want him injured.
Well, God, we don't need him to do that, do we? Blimey. So the deficit is 140. Hope is on 3, Brathwaite is on 26, and they've survived 22 minutes so far this morning. Talking of crucial first hours, it's been a very good first 22 minutes for the West Indies. In comes Anderson again, bowls, and just outside the off stump, just back of a length. Once more, Brathwaite in behind it and defending solidly back up the pitch. Any hobbies for umpires come through yet, Annie? I'll be very disappointed if they haven't.
Not that I've reached yet. I'll have a look up a bit more.
Well, that's the kind of thing that could run all day, isn't it? I mean, so we don't have to be too abrupt on that. Just a little bit of problems with the footholds for Anderson. Jofra Archer is coming up and doing a little bit of stamping around while Richard Illingworth looks on.
And a lot of attention, Hendo, has been on this games room that's been provided, for the West Indies players.
In comes Anderson, bowls, Fuller ball, finds a thick outside edge, but it springs away from the fielders. It's chased down towards third man by Joe Denley. They'll come back for a comfortable second, and that is the end of Anderson's over. The score is 66-1. Yes, Dave?
Oh, sorry, I was saying they should just provide a couple of comfortable armchairs, a couple of Chesterfields.
For the umpires, yeah.
They don't necessarily need to be entertained in the way that players do.
No. Well, you say that. But I mean, just because an umpire's a little bit older doesn't mean that he doesn't, like a little bit of excitement in his life.
What, like you, Henderson, you mean?
Yes, like me. Yes, like me. Actually, to be honest, a comfy armchair would be fine for me. If I was an international umpire, I'd be quite happy with that. Absolutely no problem. Anyway.
I'll just do one if we've got time.
Yeah,
Muttley says, morning all, looking forward to seeing some wickets fall. Edge,
well, they found the edge, but nothing's gone to hand at the moment. Wood starts a new over. In behind it is Hope, who's still on 3 after 33 deliveries have been bowled to him. So he is showing that he has stick ability. He's just got to go on from here. He's got to not do anything silly, having been out there for quite a long time. The deficit is now 138. Wood is into his 7th over. And Stokes is looking for some inspiration. He's standing there looking around him, wondering when he's going to get this breakthrough, or if he's going to get this breakthrough. Here comes Wood again, wideish on the crease, short, and he whips that away. Nice shot by Shea Hope, all the way down to long leg where Jofra Archer is stationed. It went quite quickly, so it's just a single. He moves on to 4, and the West Indies to 67 for 1.
What they need is Broad, isn't it, coming in and doing a few...
Well, that's another topic of discussion, isn't it? I mean, certainly last night you looked at it and you thought, this is Broad all over, isn't it? As well as being Jimmy all over.
Yeah, absolutely. As well as being Holder all over.
Indeed. It was a good wicket to be bowling on. Maybe not so much now with the sun out. In comes... now that's a very strange strapple from Brathwaite, but he's got away with it. I thought that was just looping up past the bowler. It's going to go almost all the way to the boundary. Anderson has finally got there, and it looks to me as if they've settled on 2. No, 3 they got in the end. Brathwaite got back, but he wasn't really in a very good position to play that. It's a very odd shot. It was played with a vertical bat, and it was kind of shoveled. It was a short one. It was shoveled past him. Wood, as he so often does, had gone to the ground after delivering. He's got one of the finest follow-throughs, which ends up with him rolling around on the pitch. But he was very annoyed, and he slapped that pitch in frustration as Brathwaite got away with that. Brathwaite goes to 31, and Wood is back into Hope. And Hope, a full shot from him as he aimed a drive at that one, got a thick inside edge. It's gone flying all the way along the ground to Archer at long leg again. And so the score moves on to 71 for 1. Hope has 5. Brathwaite has 31. Encouragement for Wood here, though, would you say, Dave? Bit of encouragement?
Yeah, he should be encouraged by he's getting lots of bounce and forcing some errors from the West Indies batsmen. They both could have gone really to uppish shots. So, yeah, encouragement for Wood. Last time, of course, he bowled against West Indies in St. Lucia, that 3rd test. He was very, very effective. 5 wickets.
Yep. He's in again, bowls to Brathwaite. Brathwaite plays this one with more confidence off the back foot. That is a fine shot through mid-on. It'll bring him 2 more, as once more Anderson is forced into action. Running back from mid-on. And the West Indies move to 73 for 1. We're just going to have a look at Mark Wood. I'm presuming we're going to have a look at him falling over as he delivers, which is something that he's done a lot throughout his career. Just overstraining, perhaps. Yep, there he goes, tumbling. But he does put absolutely everything. He's not one of those rhythmic bowlers who make it look so easy. I mean, he has a lovely action, but he strains every sinew. And here he is again, bowling onto the back foot goes Brathwaite. Had plenty of time to get onto that one, and he's played a really good shot through the covers. That might go all the way. It is going to go all the way, despite the pursuit of Joe Denley. Poor old Wood can't believe it. At the end of that over, the score is 77 for 1.
It's Nissan She. It's Nissan She.
Yeah, good
shot of the morning. Shot of the morning there.
Shot of the morning. Absolutely, it really
back
was.
Foot punch, nicely timed. Got over it nicely. West Indies will be happy with this. Would it surprise you guys to know that England are still favourites to win this match for the bookmakers, but they've just gone above evens for the first time, Bear. So you might be looking to get on them now. Bear, I know you're looking for some... No? Bear's shaking his head in the green room. Studio, I should say. Nerve Centre. Sorry, Bear. Nerve Centre. HQ.
I'm just going to read a tweet quickly. Yep. SVR36 says, thanks for bringing this commentary live from India. Love from India.
Oh,
West Indies game to skittle and give away to England. Advantage Holder and team.
Well, it's going the West Indies way at the moment, that's for sure. But it's great to have you along. If that's the first time you've tweeted us, feel free to give us your views and opinions.
Yeah, and on Crick Tracker, Lohi says, I think West Indies will win. And Scud Gilani says, hope good batting. Yeah, okay. He is. Yeah.
Yep. We hope for good batting, or certainly if you're a West Indies fan, you hope for good batting. I want to see some good batting, but I want to see a competitive game. Flicked away, the runs just flowing in this little period as Wood this time having to do work on behalf of Jimmy Anderson. He chases that a long way back, and they get through for another 2. Hope has gone to 7, Brathwaite moving particularly well now on 37, and I don't know. It looks like they've come through the most difficult portion of the morning, I would say. So Ben Stokes is going to have to think of something here. There's not a huge amount of movement now for Anderson. Certainly nothing like what there was last night.
Conditions have totally changed, haven't they?
They have, really. Anderson in again, and that's left by Hope outside the off stump. 79 for 1 is the score. We started on 57 for 1, so 22 runs scored in the half hour that we've had so far. We will be handing over to Tony. Dave will move to Twitter, and John Batham will hopefully be here. That's in about 10 minutes' time. And
Dave, we're behind on Twitter, I'm afraid. Quite far behind.
Where are we in this over? We'll try and sneak a couple in as we go, because Anderson doesn't quite have the run-up of Wood, but it does take some time wandering back. Here he is, in again to Hope. Hope is right in behind that, plays that beautifully off the back foot, down towards backward point. And again, there is no run. Quick, tweet.
Derek Willis says, morning all, looking forward to West Indies batting for a long time today, although I've also got the general optimism of MASH.
Ah, right, okay, yeah, fair point.
Yeah. And Durban Oak says, morning all bollocks, load shedding has inevitably returned here in South Africa with the restart of cricket.
Ah, okay.
And Nestle Boy says, lockdown excitement, I have delivery from Sainsbury's coming this morning.
Oh, you'll love that, you'll love that. 2 slips in the gully, ring of 3 on the offside, 2 on the onside, a long leg as well, in comes Anderson, bowls, and Hope played that very late indeed. It did just seem to swing in a little bit in the air, but he was right on top of it, again arrowed it away to the offside at backward point, but he's looking pretty confident now. And I think the West Indies have seen off the most dangerous part of the day. How do you feel about that, Dave?
No, I'm inclined to agree with you. I think that I heard you and Mash talking about Craig Brathwaite yesterday. Interesting discussion, and Masher was saying about the importance of him to this team.
Anderson in, bowls, strikes him on the pad this time. They're going to get leg buys. They're going to come back for a second because it's gone quite slowly to the man racing in off the fence at long leg. And I believe that to be 2 leg buys. No, in fact, he got a little bit of bat on it as well. So Hope moves to 9.
Yeah, Mash will be encouraged by Brathwaite's, really digging in and looking good. He's looking better than we've seen him of late. He's had a torrid run, but still vice captain of this team and a valuable part of it. And I think Mashal was saying he's the one person he'd really like to see come good. I understand why he said that. It's good to see him in this touch.
Yes, indeed. Anderson in again for the final ball of his over. Bowls to Hope. Hope leaves it outside the off stump, too wide perhaps on this occasion. It's the end of the over. It's 81 for 1. 27 overs bowled. Brathwaite 37, Hope 9. And let's see if we can race through a bundle of tweets.
Okay, Durban Oak says, with the elite panel of umpires where they all work together and they're full-time professionals, then the issue of home umpires isn't so big these days compared to the Shakil Rana days.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's that.
Yeah.
You can argue that.
Pirate Badshar at Large says, don't know why there is so much complaint about the umpiring when these matches have DRS. Would be a problem without, but that's all the more reason why the best umpires should be reserved for the smaller boards and associates who haven't the dosh for DRS. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice point.
Yep. Thank you very much for that.
I'll do one more. Morgan Hauptfleich says, good morning all, I'm your biggest and probably only fan from the second least densely populated country in the world.
What? Where's that?
What is that then?
Is that Morgan Hauptfleisch from Namibia?
Oh yes, of course, right. Now I think we've got some Namibian fans out there. Anyway, it's time for a change in terms of bowlers, not in terms of commentators. Mark Wood gives way to this man.
Break your heart, hotter than lava, cooler than Bogart, in your face, at your stumps, on your toes, on your mum.
And his first ball is no No great pace, 81 miles an hour. It's quite full. It's shoveled into the offside by Brathwaite, and there is no run. Signs that England are already getting a little bit defensive, as West Indies are now just 123 runs behind with only 1 wicket down. Short square leg's gone a little bit deeper, I would say. Archer is in again, bowls to Brathwaite. He gets in behind that, plays it with the angle up towards mid-on, and there is no run. Now, Nakul Pandey has an idea for what umpires could do. We were talking yesterday about a gorilla beard oil. We're thinking of marketing that in the near future. And I can think of a number of our regulars who would benefit from that. Durban Oak, I'm sure, will be interested in that. But Nakul says Alim Dar could oil one half of his beard only. The oil side could be used to shine the ball, and the non-oil side used to rough it up. I think that's a great idea. For those people that believe in a little bit of ball work, ball tampering, this is clipped away by Brathwaite, then to long leg, and they pick up a single, 82 for 1. Yeah, beard oil. Yeah. What do you think, Annie? Fan of beard oil?
Can't say I've ever really come across it.
Is your husband bearded?
No.
Oh. It took a while to remember. Has he been there of late? Is he in the other room? In comes Archer again. Bowls now to Hope, and Hope leaves the ball that's rising outside the off stump. Goes through comfortably to Butler, and there is no run.
My son is, though.
Your son is bearded. So do you think he'd be... has he got a job?
No, he's just finished his degree.
Do you think he'd want to be a sales rep? Guerrilla cricket beard oil sales rep?
I'll see what he...
Travel the country and see all sorts of things for that. All sorts of sites.
Certainly would.
We can't pay very much, of course.
Yeah,
as you well know.
That problem, yes.
Archer in again, bowls. Oh, now at the last minute, Hope's trying to take his bat out of the way of that and doesn't manage to. But fortunately for him, it falls safely to backward point, and there is no run. 82 for 1 is the score. We're seeing an aerial view of a completely deserted Rose Bowl.
Yes.
Cricket is there, but there are very, very few people in the stadium with those guys. People working for Sky, people working for various newspapers. Stays on the stewarding though. He's in again, bowls onto the back foot, rising nicely there. Hope he punches it, but it's fielded by Rory Burns, who's now at extra cover, and there is no run. End of the over, 82 for 1. More tweets.
PJ Me, talking of the Rose Bowl, says, morning grillers, great to hear. The Rose Bowl currently looks like any test in Australia. Nestle Boy says Erasmus has the world's largest collection of Action Man figures.
Oh, of course he does. Mind you, I'm not sure whether you get those through customs, because I mean, I imagine you could stash loads of drugs inside them. So you would be delayed at Heathrow while they
that's true.
come all up.
They're all Action Men, honest.
Yeah. Honest.
Mog says, in the case of Billy Bowden, I assume his hobby was being a twat.
Oh, harsh.
Harsh, Mog.
Harsh.
Nestle Boy says, what is the random banging? I apologies for that, because I'm having my roof done.
Oh, okay. Well, we are going to have a change of bowling, a double change in effect, but it's going to be the first sight of spin in this test match. It's going to be Dominic. Best batted quite well yesterday, got 31 not out. A few rather fortunate shots, a few really good ones. And here is his jingle.
It's Dominic Best, selected for the Euro test, the latest in a long line of sinners who turned out to be rejects.
I think that's the end of the jingle. I'm not entirely sure, because it's not a particularly good connection from Sydenham to South Wimbledon, I have to say. Best then has a forward short leg and a slip, and he bowls, and it's driven back to him. Some people might have got excited by that, because it looked like a catch, but it was a bump ball.
Very excited to see Best playing.
Of course you are. I was looking at his record last year. It was extraordinary, wasn't it? He was loaned out to Yorkshire for 4 championship matches.
Yeah. Because he wasn't getting any red ball.
No. Yeah, that's unfortunate. This is flattish, and I think Brathwaite could have done a bit more with that. As it is, he's just flicked it into the knee or shin of Ollie Pope, and the ball's rebounded. There is no run. Yeah, he got a very good 91, I think, as a batsman for Yorkshire. And that,
He's a good bat.
Yeah, he's decent. He's in again, he bowls. Oh, now that pops up. Is that interesting, England? No, it's taken by Ollie Pope. He catches it cleanly enough. Does quite well. Good footwork to jump over the pitch while taking the ball, so that he doesn't rough up the surface at all. And Best is in again. A couple of steps, then stops, then starts again, and lovely shot from Brathwaite as he goes back and late cuts that. Means that Wood has to do some work on the backward point boundary, and they get through for 2. Brathwaite moves into the 40s. The West Indies 84 for 1. We will have a change at the end of this over. Tony will be ball by balling. I'll hand over to him shortly. Dave, you're staying. You're doing Twitter, and John Batham is joining us as well. He's in again, looking to see if that's going to spin back, but it's not. It was pushed up quite wide. Brathwaite wasn't interested, and it didn't turn back at all. So doesn't look like there's a great deal of encouragement for the spinner out there. And reasonably well spread field from England as well. Best in bowls. He goes back and pulls out to a man stationed a few yards inside the boundaries. They come back for 2, in fact. Very good running from Brathwaite to get back for the second. That is the end of the over. It's 86 for 1. It's time for Annie and me to take a little bit of a break. We'll be back later, and I'll hand you over now to none other than the Bish himself. Your Highness, Your Holiness, Your Greatness. Take it away.
Blimey, what an intro to live up to. Yes, 86 for 1. West Indies only 118 behind. Hello, John. Hello, Dave.
Morning, Tony.
Dave, you're on tweets. Have you got that new microphone yet?
I have got the new microphone. Yeah, it's better. I think it's better. Headphones aren't as good, but the microphone's better.
All right. And John, the general perception, I think, yesterday was very much England bowled too short. Have they this morning? We'll have a look in a moment as in comes Archer. Hope drops the bat on that. It's away into the onside. They take a single. Move on to 87. Yeah, if you look at the stats, England consistently bowled shorter than the West Indies, and the general consensus, I think, yesterday was that, John, was that the West Indies bowled better in English conditions than England did.
Yeah, but I think part of the problem that you've got there is that because of the makeup of bowlers that England have picked, they've picked bowlers who do tend to
Archer's
bowl
in, hooked. It's a little bit uppish, but it's going to drop sort of probably 20 yards behind that square leg umpire. Around comes Jimmy Anderson from long leg, and they will take 2, so they move on to 89. Brathwaite on to 44. Sorry, John.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, Archer and Wood's natural length is to bowl a little bit back of a length, isn't it? That's the problem. So the problem you've got now is you're asking bowlers to do something which isn't their norm, you know.
Yeah, the feeling was that they picked a team for Brisbane, not a team for Southampton on a wet and cloudy day. Joffrey Archer.
If you're a wet and cloudy day and you win the toss, you probably should let Anderson bowl first.
Well, there you go. As Archer, smooth gliding run, and that's on a decent length and kept it a little bit low, I fancy. And Brathwaite, though, was seeing the ball very well now. He's 44 off 96. He's played very sensibly, and he just tucked in behind that. There was no run, none for 24 for Archer. 6,500 empty seats around the Aegeus Bowl there. And of course, that fantastic Moorish pavilion designed, I think, was it by John Hopkins, same guy who did Lord's. And this one's down leg side. Brathwaite had a little fish. Was the potential for a leg side strangle, I suppose, but no real excitement. Edging towards 90 miles now.
Is that the Rod Brownsgrove pavilion you're talking about there, Tony? The one that Brownsgrove wasn't allowed into?
Yes, that's right. Well, he obviously did so much to help Hampshire, did Rod Brownsgrove. It was Michael Hopkins who designed it, but he also designed the mound stand at Lord's. We're getting a nice view of it as we speak, in fact, because it's the end from which Archer's bowling short, and Butler has to dive away. And I think he sort of tipped that over the bar, and it enables them to come through for what's given us leg by, so it must have taken some leg there. Dropped in short by Archer, rose up, We'll just have a look at
hit him on the shoulder,
take him on the
I think.
shoulder, John. Yeah, you're quite right. And Butler poured it round the post. Acrobatic. Had he been a goalkeeper, not a wicketkeeper, you'd have said, well, that was a fine effort. 90 for 1. Archer turns, tosses the ball from one hand to the other, sets off again. He'll be desperate for that wicket. In he comes, and short again. This time, much better directed. And Hope ducks underneath it. Butler takes it high above his head. It's the end of the over, and we will come to some social messages from Mr.
Indeed,
Brook.
we will. Thanks, Tony. Good morning to Ravi Nair. Hello, Ravi. Illingworth, you say about the leisure habits of umpires. Illingworth practices being a professional Yorkshireman. He regularly places in the top 3 in Yorkshireman impersonator contests. Mog, I guess he did, so I must say that watching Wood bowl helped make you realise that he's so injury prone. He seems to have more moving parts than any other bowler I've seen. Good point, well made. Does he have an extra fetlock or something? Muttley has sent us a photo of the most appetising, delicious-looking prawn noodle dish I think I've ever seen. What time's lunch?
Bess skips in, and this is driven away, but driven straight to cover, and there is no run. David, if that is the new microphone, it has a very similar fault to the old one. As soon as you turn away to read sweets on a different device, you disappear off into mumble land. Bess skips in again, and that one just a typical off break.
I'm going to reposition my device.
Not a bad shout. Worked away around the corner anyway, and there was no run. Bess, who's operating from that Hilton Hotel end with that magnificent Moorish pavilion in his sights. Forward, and no run. Nicely played again by Brathwaite. Sporting a natty pair of sunglasses is Dominic Bess. None for 4 for him so far. No appreciable turn or bounce, and he's bowled a decent line, but he's not particularly menacing. Let's see what he's got here, and this one's pulled straight to backward square. Jofra Archer
lucky to get away with that one. That
station there. Yeah, it was horrible, wasn't it? Bit of a
that was a long hop, I think we would call that.
Yep.
Well, is he? Well, I'll come to you in a second, John, because I've got a question there. I'll do it after this ball. And in comes Bess. Bit more flight on the drive, straight to cover, no run. Is he there to just give the faster bowlers some respite and tie down an end, or is he a genuine attacking option, do you think, John?
Well, I was just thinking about this. I was thinking, much as it's nice to see a spinner bowling, it's probably an admission by England that, you know, conditions have changed.
In he comes, and left by Brathwaite straight through to Butler. Of course, he rattles through his over pretty quickly, but yeah, I think you're right on that, John, and it's you'd rather have seen him later in the game doing some damage in the 4th innings.
Yeah,
but not to be the case. How are we doing on social media, David?
Yeah, I'll try again, this time without moving my head.
Please do.
Martin Lewis wonders if we have any talented musicians amongst the umpires panel. As you know, we're analysing what would have happened if the umpires needed to be entertained. Michael Oliver's guide dog says, hello gorillas, delighted to hear your voices again after a long old time. Hope all are safe and well, what with one thing and another. What can you be referring to? Michael Oliver's guide dog. Ravi, you're prolific this morning. You've said Bruce Oxenford's hobby is practicing being retired. He writes at least one joke a day in preparation for his entry into the after dinner speaking circuit. He keeps his notebook with him at all times and calls it the Oxen's word. Ravi, you're on flying form this morning.
He is. Hello, Ravi. Hope you're doing well. 90 for 1. West Indies are certainly doing very well. And England really up against it here. In comes Archer. That one takes a top edge, and it's gone over gully. And I think it's going to go all the way it does. That is frustration for England. Crawley couldn't get there. 4 runs.
There's not one boy for me. I must have 2 or 3. I need 4.
Because I could see the bear lounging comfortably in his chair there, but there's a bit of a delayed effect before you actually hear the jingles. So you have to hope they're playing somewhere in the background. Yeah, he didn't seem to have quite the athleticism of Joss Butler, did he, Crawley? If he had, he might have he got a paw on that. Brathwaite stands ready again, Archer in, and that one's a good ball on a good length, just ducks in a little bit.
Well played, wasn't it?
Hope, and he played it very nicely indeed. Quite right, David. Yes, he did. Brathwaite 35 off 62. Shy Hope 14 off 48 in this partnership, which is 51 now. So these two have done their job very nicely. Their captain, Jason Holder, will be thrilled to bits, I suspect, with in fact, if he could have scripted the way he'd have wanted this morning to go, crucial first hour, it's still going very tidily his way.
This, wouldn't it? Yeah.
94 for 1. Archer turns, is in, and again Shy Hope, who's looked solid and perhaps the less spectacular of the two, but if he's got that natural flamboyant, aggressive stroke-making instinct, then he's curtailing it just at the moment.
Just signs here, though, Tony, that Archer's beginning to find a little bit of a groove.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
He's tried to force Hope back and then pitched one up. There's just signs that he's getting a little bit of a groove.
Well, I think you're right, and this is turned away round the corner. It's to square leg. I think it dropped short of the man there, which is Ollie Pope, the Bishop of Rome. We'll have another look at that and let you know.
It did. Well
played,
short.
And it dropped well short. Pope diving away.
A yard short, probably.
Left, but yeah. So no excitement. Move on. That lead looks ever more slender from an England perspective, and ever more in reach from a West Indies perspective, as Archer is into Brathwaite and pulled again. And this one's up and over backward square, taken down there by Jimmy Anderson, who puts in the throw. They will have taken 2, I would imagine. No, they only took the single. And they move on to 96. Played that off his hip, didn't he? He knows there's a space down there. Sort of almost shoveled it up in the air and round the corner down to long leg, and Jimmy Anderson had to come round from deep backward square.
He scored a few runs down there.
Well, there's a big yawning gap to score him in. Remember, England started off last night with, I think, 5 slips at one point and a gully. As in comes Archer. That really did hurry up Hope. That is why Ollie Pope is in that sort of very... It's not really kind of short backward square, is it? Or short square leg, but it's a shortish square leg. And that's why he's there. Anyway, the end of the over. David, over to you.
Yeah, Durbano says beard oil and balm is not cheap. That's a good point. Leah, whose birthday is today, is saying, I'll be talking about beard oil again. Let me repitch my sales pitch, which was Gorilla Cricket presents Silverback, the fur oil for the discerning gorilla. Obviously the other spelling of gorilla. Gorilla Cricket GC from home, more double changery. Stokes taking a leaf out of the joint holder route textbook. And Mogg says, if Annie's unsure of her husband's appearance...
This is in. Forward comes Brathwaite. That's nicely steered away down to pretty much deep extra cover. They're going to take 3 for that, because the man down there was really coming round from sort of almost backward point, I think. And there's still those gaps, and the West Indies are, at the moment, seeming to be exceedingly adept at finding them, much to the frustration of Ben Stokes and England. 105 now, the deficit. Brathwaite, he's closing in on a 50.
I think we're beginning to reach the point, Tony, that we were talking about after play last night, where Stokes' captain, does he bowl himself, and how much does he bowl himself? I kind of think it's almost a Stokes-like moment.
He was bowling last night, wasn't he? So it wouldn't be his first overs of the game. Bess going to be skipping in for the second ball.
He bowled a couple, didn't he?
And that was a good ball. That kept the batsman honest. That was nicely played by Shy Hope. As we said, he's been almost batting within himself, really. I think Shy Hope, you'd say, John, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, he hasn't made a Test 100 since he was last here. So
true. No, Bess in
England. So
forward again came home.
He's not the
back
most
to Bess.
flamboyant
No run.
West Indies shot makers. This is how he goes about his work. So
he's an accumulator, isn't he?
Yep. Don Bess flicking that ball with his fingers. He's in, and again, it's, rinse and repeat as forward comes Hope and pushes it back to Don Bess. He's got 2 balls left of his third over. He's gone for 7. West Indies on 99 and Brathwaite on 48. He's not on strike, of course, but we're on the cusp of 2 landmarks. Bess gives that, tries to get it on a little bit more rip, but nothing really happened. He just dropped it a little bit shorter. Hope stepped back, looking to cut, but he didn't really get hold of it. It went straight to cover, where Crawley, resplendent in his short sleeve jumper and England cap, does the fielding. So there's just the one ball left from this Dom Bess over. He's in. This is turned away around the corner through mid-wicket. They've taken one. They'll probably leave it there. So Hope will retain the strike for himself. And it's the end of the over. The 100 is up for the West Indies. Well done them. Just the one wicket. And we'll go back to Dave, and anything can happen on social media.
The tips man says, is this one of the weakest England test teams to play? Good question. Durban Oak says, my new mic seems as shit as the old one. Thanks for that, Durban. I'll have to get another upgrade.
For that.
Leon says, not playing Broad looks like a mistake now, indeed. And Ravi says, while waiting for the secret code book and the ceremonial handing over of the elite umpires over counter, Nitin Menon spends his time practicing ways to add pizzazz to his umpiring signals. Ravi, I'd like to have a little bit of what you're eating today. The tips man says, agree, but Wood hasn't done a lot too far. And finally, Ian Harkin says, it's early days, but they're already without Root. The leaving out Broad was just bizarre.
Yeah, you look at the stats. We'll come on to that again in a minute. Archer is in, and forward comes Hope. Broad averaged just over 23 in 6 English tests last summer, and he averaged 19.42 in the South Africa series. And I saw yesterday a rather mischievous tweet from him, which I think was saying it's great English bowling conditions, meaning why are you playing inside for a hard Australian pitch, I suspect, was the subtext to that. Archer, none for 30 off 9, so things not going his way at the moment. In he comes. That one, a little bit edgily, goes to backward point. There's no run. 87 miles an hour.
It's an easy argument, though, isn't it? Just to say, well, you know, England aren't doing very well. The West Indies are 100 for 1, therefore we should have picked Broad.
Well, yeah, I mean, hindsight.
100 for 1 if we pick Broad.
Well,
hindsight is always 2020.
Well, last time they left Broad out, first test at Barbados last year.
Is that when we got rolled for 77?
Indeed.
Yeah, I thought so. Anyway, 100 for 1.
That's the batting's fault.
Archer in. And well played by Shy Hope. He's a little bit squared up, though, I thought there, John. He does show a lot of his stumps.
Can I just come back on John and what you were saying there, John? Yeah, we are talking about the bowling, but don't forget England lost that game by an innings. Jason Holder got a double century, so it wasn't great for the bowlers either.
No, but if you get rolled for 77, you haven't got much to bowl at.
It's true.
The reality is we should have been bowling on Wednesday morning and we weren't, and that's put us on the back foot. However, in this little exchange, Archer is slowly trying to work Hope over, I think.
As in comes Archer.
That's close.
And that one is a decent shout and is given. Well, now, we've had reviews before. Are they going to review? That looked, to me, pretty straight. Having a chat in the middle, as of course is their wont. Have they actually... Well, they've got 2 reviews left, as have England. Remember, 3 reviews allowed to counter the non-neutrality of the umpires. Not that anyone is really suggesting that the umpires are anything less than unscrupulously honest.
But
really England may have their moment here. The decision has been reviewed. Perhaps we have a jingle for that, Bear.
Oh, hello. This could be close to a no ball. It's a no ball.
I was definitely in. Were you definitely in?
And it is. I think
that
John.
That is a no ball.
John's called it.
Fuck off! Just fuck off! Over the line!
I mean, you've got to review it, haven't you? When you've got 3 reviews, you may as well use one.
Absolutely.
Got to keep behind the line. That's the rules, aren't they, Tony?
Well, they absolutely are, and I'm pretty sure John's called it, and I don't think there's enough of that foot on that line.
There isn't any of that foot on that line.
No.
There is nil of that foot on that line. That is a no ball every day.
What a frustration that will be for Jofra Archer. What a frustration it will be for England. What a frustration it will be for Ben Stokes. It's still 101 for 1. Stokes is straight away. You'd like to think he's going, come on, Jofra, mate. Try and giving him a word of consolation, but I suspect the odd word of, what's the word? Rebuke might well have been in there. I don't think we never got really to bother to look at if it had taken his middle pole back. I suspect it would have done because it looked as plumb could be.
Well, they're pretty
but we
glad.
only needed to see where his foot was, and the rest was irrelevant.
Yeah, it was out.
And it was hitting.
Hit the top of middle.
It would. So what an incredible frustration for all concerned. There is punching his fist.
Archer's got to put that out of his head because he's wanted to bowl at Hope. He's pinned Hope back.
Well,
and then he's pitched a few up. So he's got Hope second guessing a little bit here.
He does, and he's in again, and that is over the shoulder of Shy Hope and taken by Joss Butler. So his response, not surprisingly perhaps, because you could see the frustration bubbling and boiling away in Jofra Archer there, was to drop one short. So he's bowled four balls of this, his 10th over, 101 for 1. The West Indies. Shy Hope 16. And it's another, I'm afraid, incorrect decision from an umpire. And that one, decent ball, and hurries up Shy Hope, who actually in the end takes one hand off the bat, and it's away into the offside. There's no run, 103 the gap. You just sense he's looking a little disconsolate. He would be probably more, I would say, David, a little bit of frustration and anger with himself more than anything else. It's one thing to have a review overturned, but by your own error is a real frustration.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. As Archer's in, that one down leg side left. I think he thought about trying to steer it around the corner, and I think just pulled out. So it's the end of the over, 101 for 1, and we will hear some more social media messages from David.
Derek Willis has been in touch. Good morning to you, Derek. Thank you for this. One of these teams has some experience playing in tests with very small crowds. I wonder if that's having an impact here. Well, certainly the absence of home support will be affecting England, I'm sure. And Tim Effingham says, "Evening, Gorilla. I imagine that Joel Wilson haunts Australian cricket fans' dreams." Durban Oak just says, "Archer, you dip." I hope you heard that one, Durban, even though my mic has been a bit poor. And messages, so reviews are beating the umpires 6-1, a bit one-sided, really. Well, you can't blame the umpire for that one, because if Edinburgh got that right, it would have hit.
Well, now, interestingly enough, just let me hold you there for a second, David. I've seen Knuckles just sent us a private note, but it says that was the correct decision. He gave it out, and it was. But, well, I know, but
he didn't call a ball.
If you're an umpire and it's a big and it was, you should call a no ball.
I see. Well, no, yes, absolutely right. I'm with you now. I totally agree with that, Tony. I really don't like the way umpires ignore the front foot these days.
Yeah, I think it's appalling.
Right.
So we are indeed as one.
If they show up on review, that's the problem.
Yeah. So you're right, Knuckles. You're wrong. He wasn't right to give it out. It's a no ball.
Correct. 100%.
100%.
Any more messages, David?
Messages says, interestingly, every single incorrect decision would have favoured England. All bar one this morning, messages. I think when with Hope this morning. Apart from that, you're right. And A.B. Muller says these umpires would be better if they'd worked from home, like the rest of us. And incidentally, Bear, I'm going to big you up again for getting this sorted on Zoom. I had a lot of positive remarks from people about how you've managed to pull this together technically. So thanks very much, Bear, from everyone. It's great to be able to do this remotely, and it's wonderful how you've got this together. It really is.
Amen to that. So the man who saved the World Cup has also saved the virtual cricket series as we deliver it, not from our Sydenham studio and all of its joys, delights and idiosyncrasies, but remotely, as indeed we are. There's a break. I'm assuming there's a bit of a drinks break at the moment. So we were talking about the shortness of bowling. Yesterday, England bowled 46% back of a length and just over 5% short. West Indies bowled 36% back of a length and only 3% short. We're going to wait a second as Bess is in. And oh no, we're not. We're looking at some highlights of the South Africa series. So that's quite a big difference. Whilst I understand, John, your point that you can't. This time we're back live again. Brathwaite forward to Bess, no run. Your point, John, was very much, of course, that the you pick your bowlers to bowl at a certain length, and it's hard to get them to change. I'm not sure I agree with that. Bess in again. Brathwaite waits for it, cuts it wide of third slip down to third man. They'll take a single. He's not really getting any turn, John, is he, Bess, at all? It's pretty gun barrel straight.
It feels like a fairly negative containing strategy.
That's right. Well, there's a forward short leg in as well as a slip. And it's
said,
gone to that man at slip. The man is Stokes. What do we know? Literally bugger all, because the edge has been taken. Hope has gone. Of course, it is Captain Ben Stokes who's occupying that slip spot. England have their second wicket, and despite the the pace spearhead of two pace bowlers, it is Dom Bess. Let's hear a wicket jingle.
I won't look back, 'cause by the time that I do, you'll be gone.
Well, gone for 16.
The thing with that, Tony, is the ball doesn't do anything. The ball doesn't do anything. It's gun barrel straight, and Hope feels obliged to attack it. And part of the reason for that is because he's been got at a little bit by Archer. Archer's been working him over, bowling short, frustrating him, giving him some hurry up. He sees one from Bess. He thinks that's a little bit wide. I'll have a slash at it, and it's in Slip's hands. So part of that was due to Archer bowling at the other end.
So you think it's slightly a bought wicket as opposed to a good piece of bowling? I think you're being perhaps a little bit harsh on Best. It was a decent ball, but you're right, it didn't rip or turn.
It didn't move, but Hope felt obliged to go after something because he wasn't getting much out of Archer. He wasn't getting much out of Archer, and he got a little bit stuck.
Well, crucially, England have their second wicket.
That's good bowling in tandem. I mean, I said I thought, Bess was a bit of a negative option, but maybe that's the point. Maybe you want someone to have a dart at something from Bess.
It was poor shot selection.
It was.
He should have used his life. He'd just been given a reprieve, and he should have used that.
Right. Well, the new man to the crease is Shamar Brooks. Averages 34.8. Only played 3 tests though. So it'll be a test of character and ability for him as he faces Dom Bess, who has 3 balls left.
You know him, not really. He ain't bad, he ain't bad. Shamar, you know him, Shamar Brooks.
Shamar Brooks it is. Shamar Shakad Joshua Brooks, to give him his absolutely full name. As he faces his second ball, which he plays very nicely away into the offside. Ben Stokes seems to be getting quite excited there at slip, but I'm not quite sure why. He's 31, mind you, Brooks. He may be only playing his second test, but he's not exactly a youngster, is he, David?
He's West Indies Joe Denley, Tony.
He's West Indies. Well, let's see if he makes a quick 30. And forward he leans into that and gets himself off the mark, guides it down to deep backward point. So, or was that? Yes, he was. He does get himself off the mark. It's the end of that Bess over. It's a successful Bess over. He has 1 for 10. West Indies are 103 for 2. David.
Yes. Armchair Cricket Podcast. Good day to you guys. He's not impressed by Archer. What the shit, Archer? As Lana would have commented to the titular character in the cartoon series, England would have loved that breakthrough. Hope does not look comfortable where you preempted that. Evil Scooter says excellent commentators curse their gents, referring to that dismissal. And John Duffy says, talking about Michael Vaughan, says that Vaughan is a vulgarian, very tabloid. Also, his various commercial interests also compromise its journalistic integrity. And he's pro-100. Well, anyone who will be interested in the discussion on county cricket matters at lunchtime.
As in comes Archer, and Brooks just watches this past his bat through to Jos Buttler. 86, just over 86 miles an hour. Now I would imagine Jofra Archie carved his fingers across that, but it went straight through. Buttler took it away to his left. I would think that Jofra Archer is going to be relishing this. A new man at the crease, that's what he's craved. A new man with not a huge amount of test experience. David, you know this team well. Do you think Brooks has the nerve for this? As Archer's in. Oh, that was horrible. Got that horrible. I think he was looking for the fuller ball, and Brooks just guided this away through long on. It's going to go all the way to that long on boundary, I think. He moves on to 5. It was a particularly horrible ball from Archer, which I think he was looking for a Yorker and absolutely got it horribly wrong.
2 + 2 is our man.
Certainly,
it was a full banger, I think we could say.
So, I don't know. He answered your question. I mean, he's got the temperament for a long innings. Statistically, he hasn't played that many, and he got his opportunity quite late in his career. But Toby Radford rates him and says technically he's very good.
Well, that's good enough for us, as that one climbs on him a little bit and is down to gully. And Jofra made him hop, which is what Jofra Archer will be wanting to do.
Tony, when, like Denley, it's difficult when you come into a side having not played Test cricket before the age of 30. You know, you've got that slight feeling that every Test match could be your last. You're not as carefree as a player coming in, and I've got that feeling with Shamar a bit.
Well, you did call him the West Indian Denley, as in comes Archer. That one full and straight, and pushed away into the onside by Brooks for no run.
He is an interesting character, though, because I mean, he was captain of the High Performance Centre team back in 2010 that included Holder and Gabriel and Bonner and Delrick.
That's right, 5 of this squad. Yeah.
So he had something about him then. Clearly, it's clearly developed a little bit later.
Well, it's the right-hander who's facing Archer, and that one was a good bouncer, short, and it climbed up at him, and Brooks has to tilt his head away. It's through to Butler. England, perhaps they say it's just the body language now from England just appears to have picked up a notch or two. It just shows the difference that or shows just how much I think they needed that wicket. They were starting to look a little bit flat, a little bit resigned, and perhaps it came from an unexpected source. But they will take it. Dom Bess, of course, the wicket taker. Stokes the catch at slip. Archer turns at the top of his mark. Last ball of his 11th over, and bat raised high by Brooks to let it through to Butler, and 107 for 2. Some more messages, David.
Yeah, Luke's been in touch about Ben Stokes' captaincy, and also an interesting question was this: it's the first England captain, I think, to come in captaining our side without any previous captaincy experience. Not a first-class match, not an ODI, not a T20. I think this is the first time he's captained any team. So that's an interesting point. That if things do go against Ben Stokes, I wonder if he's got that'll be extra pressure on him. Given that England rely on him so much with the bat. Good point from Luke. Well made. Thank you, Luke.
Yeah, a very good point indeed. 107 for 2. The deficit 97.
I'm not sure there are a huge number of options, were there? That's the thing.
Brathwaite's been on 49 for a while, and he's going to be the man to face the deadly wicket-taking Dom Bess. Somebody mentioned his hair's got a little bit more ginger. Somehow. Am I the only one who's seeing a sort of... he's joining the Stokes Pope. Maybe he thinks that's a good career move. A little bit of ginger dye on the hair is the way to go if you want to secure your place in the England team. Brathwaite 49, and he's going to face Dom Bess, who wheels in, gives it plenty of air. It's pushed away to mid-on. There's no run.
How Brathwaite will be looking for this run. Hasn't had a Test match 50 in 22 innings, Tony.
Well, yeah, indeed. The man from Barbados, as indeed many of this team are.
Yes, now. Oh no,
this one is driven straight, or pulled, in fact, straight to Ollie Pope, who's there at forward short leg, who stoically wears that one.
Was that a chance?
We're going to have another look and see. Well, if that was a chance, David, perhaps you'd like to go and stand there and have the ball just smacked directly at your head and see how you get on. As this one again is whipped away, and again Brathwaite can't get away off 49, and again it's young Ollie Pope who is having to go above and beyond the call of duty. There he sort of made one step out of the way and thrust up a hand. So the Brathwaite's showing some signs of frustration. That one goes the other way. That was a very, very intelligent ball indeed. He tossed it up a little bit wider, did Dom Bess. Perhaps having seen how the last wicket fell, of course. Got 2 balls left. He's got Brathwaite on tenterhooks here. Although not anymore, because Brathwaite can just step back, guide it to backward point and walk the most comfortable of singles. He has 50. Well played him. 108 for 2, 50 and a jingle bear.
50 runs, you're 50 runs. Well done, well done, well done, well done. 50 runs, you're 50 runs. The job is only just begun.
As Brooks lets that one by outside of his off stump. It's the end of the over, and we'll come for some more messages, David.
Well, yeah, a message from me on this one, Tony, because I think that Brathwaite will really be relishing that half century. He has had a really lean spell, and he was such a fixture of the team and the main, the anchor of the team. If you think back to the 2017 tour and what a great tour he had there, it's been very, very slim pickings for him since then in all forms of cricket. So that will be great for him to get back with a half century. And now Toby Radford yesterday at tea time was saying that he really wanted Craig Brathwaite to dig in, and that's what he's done today. And as long as he's there, West Indies will be in pole position in this match.
Well, I'd say they are in pole position at the moment at 108 for 2. Boy, from an England perspective, that was a desperately needed wicket snagged by Dom Bess. We're going to have a change, I think, in about 5 minutes. So it might be 1, it might be 2 overs. We'll see how we go. Bear, I think, is going to be coming on to ball by ball. So we're going to be looking forward to that. Brathwaite is going to be facing Archer in the meantime. 2 slips. And this one is flicked off his legs to mid-wicket. They take a single. So it'll bring Brooks back onto strike. Brathwaite moves on to 51, 109 for 2.
I think Brathwaite's done everything that you would expect him to do in this innings. He was very watchful yesterday in difficult conditions. He's played a few more shots today. The interesting thing is he's been so long without a Test 50 that I asked myself, if he was English, would he still be being picked?
Well, that's a good question. I'm sure we'll throw that one to David in a minute, but let's let Archer bowl. That's flicked away around the corner, and there's no man down there at fine leg, and it's going to go for 4 more.
Now my innings going, great guns, I hit the ball, 4 runs, I hit the ball, and it went for 4 runs.
Yeah, just straying off his line a little bit there, Archer, and it was the comparatively easy to just flick it away around the corner. David, what would you say to that about Brooks?
Yeah, it's a fair point, John. We're talking about Brathwaite there.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. Oh, Brathwaite, I beg your pardon. Archer's going to be in again. This time to Brooks. This is pushed to mid-wicket, short mid-wicket, and there's no run.
Yeah, your point, John, was would an England opener be given that sort of run with 22 games without a half century? Almost certainly not. I guess it's a measure of the fact that West Indies have not really had anyone really making a strong case at regional level for that opening position. And Brathwaite's had a number of different partners. No one's really taken on the mantle.
But it was his 18th Test 50. He's going to be into... Oh, and that one was an interesting ball indeed. It looked to me like it kept a little bit low. It was certainly quick. And through to Butler. It looked for a second as though Brathwaite was shaping to cut. And then the ball just didn't get up.
Stokes is warming up.
Yeah, I think he'll be, having got that second wicket, he'll feel that he needs to try something different, and probably thinking to himself quite often that I'm that something different. In comes Archer, left alone by Brooks, who just tilts backwards, lets it through to Butler. No run. 89 miles an hour, 113 for 2. The West Indies were coming to the end of the 38th over, which Archer is bowling. He has just the 1 ball left of that. Wicketless for him, to the cost of 40 runs. And he'll want to be changing that.
He's been unlucky in this spell.
In he comes. 2 slips and a gully. bat dropped on it by Brathwaite. They take a quick single. The end of the over has come, and we will have a change in the commentary box. I think I'm staying here. The ball is going to move on to Bear by Bear, and Jono will be coming on social media, and I'm just going to be chatting when needed. Over to you, Bear.
Thank you very much, Tony. Can you hear me?
We can.
Excellent. Brathwaite is on 51, as you say. Let me just you two natter a minute. I've just got to do a couple of things on the screens in front of me.
Well, we can happily do that for you.
Although I have to admit,
only his second 50, I think. Am I right? Oh no, so it's 18th 50, Craig Brathwaite. Highest score of 212. But he got that in versus Bangladesh. Are you ready to go, Bear?
I am indeed.
All yours.
Don Bess is coming over the wicket, and he's bowling to Brooks, who drives that nicely through the offside, past cover. He turns around and thinks there's someone behind him, but there isn't. And he's out at deep point, and so it rattles away down to the boundary for one of these.
There's not one boy for me, I must have 2 or 3, I need 4.
And so, where do we think we are here, boys? We're in trouble, aren't we, at 118 for 2, although there could be a little collapse. You can get another 3 wickets in the next, say, 30 runs, which is quite hopeful.
But how likely is that to happen?
I'm not sure it's particularly likely.
West Indies will feel good.
They will indeed. Well, Don Bess is polishing the ball hard. He's got sunglasses on. It's not that sunny. He's got the mirrors on, and he bowls. It's a bit loopier. Driven again through the same spot, and the cover isn't there. The cover's square. And once again, that's a beautiful shot by Brooks. He's driven it through to extra cover where the fielder isn't, and it's one of these.
And if you kids can't listen, then you bound to see the way you get shot for crossing a boundary,
Morning, Jono.
Morning, gentlemen. How are we?
We're good. Your thoughts on this morning is your what?
Shocker.
Oh no, it's so typically English, isn't it? You know, floated up again, driven. This time it is square to the man who is placed out there. It looks like Mark Wood out there. He throws it back in, and they just get through for a single. It's kind of all gone wrong from the toss, though, hasn't it? We decided to bat, which I don't think was the worst decision. Usually bat first, but everything's kind of gone against us. There was so much time lost, and we lost out so early that today the weather's come out nice, and they're batting. As Bess comes over the wicket, bowls to Brathwaite, who just leaves it through to Butler.
I kind of feel a bit sorry for Ben Stokes. He's getting absolutely hammered in terms of some of the social media stuff. I'll just wait for this ball.
I don't engage with social media, except when I'm on here, funnily enough. Bess is coming up to bowl, 123 for 2. It's a bit flatter this time, and Brathwaite just presses forward, stays on the crease, pushes it into the ground, short leg, and there's no run. Ollie Pope's under the helmet. What's been going on social media then?
I just think it's almost like an easy target, isn't it? Like the English cricket fans' view on English cricket is that we always do the wrong thing.
Yeah, true. Thrown up outside the off stump and there is no run. I mean, it would have been good to get runs on the board, and there are times when we could have gone on. They bowled well, and you can't put it all on Stokes that the batsman didn't bat, can you? You know, you can only do as well as he can do, and he was the top scorer. So, you know.
And I also think he probably wanted to be aggressive, and I think people expect him to be aggressive, and batting was that option.
Yeah.
It just hasn't worked. They bowled well. They had the best of the conditions. We didn't take advantage last night. Tony and I were hoping for 4 wickets last night. Got 1.
Yeah. A lot of near misses, but not quite gravy. I mean, we had 3 LBWs, only one of them was out. So,
yeah.
You know.
Joffre this morning, head in hands moment, wasn't it? He's had a Barry.
Well, that didn't actually cost that much. The Shai was out. What was it, next over, wasn't it? So, the skipper has decided that he's got to do what Jason Holder did, and he's going to bring himself on. I'll give him a little jingle.
Ben? Ben Stokes.
See what the skipper can do. He's gone for 6 off his 2 overs yesterday. Yet to bowl today. He's up to the crease now. Comes in bowls. There's a bit of a loosener outside the off stump. Left line through to the keeper, and there is no run.
Yeah, it's got a little bit cloudier now. Maybe he thinks he'll get a little bit of movement. The ball's nearly 40 overs old though. West Indies are going to cash in now. And they only trail by 81. It's not looking good.
On the tweets, Bear, I'm just trying to find where we're up to, which seems to be a fair way.
Yeah, you might have to, pick out some goodies and catch us up to speed. Stokes is in, bowls, and it's defended by Brooks up to mid-on, and there's no run. Decent full ball. Maybe a little bit of cow cover, and they want to go a little bit further, see if he gets some swing.
If you go back to Derek Willis, that might be a decent place to start.
How long ago was that, Tony?
30 minutes.
Wow, we're 30 minutes behind. I'm going to have to give you some space to get some in.
Yeah.
I'm going to do some quick balls and palm it off to you pretty quickly. So when I say your name, you're in, okay? Stokes is in, bowls. It's defended back to the bowler. Jono.
Derek Willis comments, one of these teams has some experience playing in tests with very small crowds. I wonder if this is having an impact here. They're not particularly great fans of Test cricket in the West Indies, are they?
Not these days, but it used to be. It used to be a big crowd. I mean, maybe that's a reflection of how the side's done. But I do think that one of the things about where the Premier League has suffered massively from loss of crowds, I think most English cricket fans, if they watch away series, and while it's odd it being in England like this, we're kind of used to watching cricket with no crowd, so it's not that big of a deal really. Stokes is in, clipped off the hip to square leg on he Pope Fields, and there's no run.
We tend to take big crowds with us though, don't we, I guess? I mean, I was in South Africa. I mean, who doesn't want to go to South Africa over Christmas?
True.
But, even to likes of Sri Lanka, obviously Bangladesh probably fewer, as with India and maybe the UAE, but it's funny how the West Indian crowd seem to love one day and T20 formats. But Test cricket doesn't seem to be quite as popular there anymore.
Well, they won 2 T20 World Cups, didn't they, in quick succession?
Yeah. Well, Ben Stokes lost one.
Yeah, that's a bit harsh. Down the leg side, and there's no run. Get some tweets.
Durban Oak says, Archer, you dick. I think we all know what that's referring to. Messi Jez. So reviews are beating the umpires 6-1. A bit one-sided, really. Man at short leg, Archer is overrated. I think that's a bit harsh considering he's still young in his career.
Yep.
AB Moolah, these umpires would be better if they'd work from home.
Oh, well, they could.
We did have that one actually.
You could have iPads or cameras on a stick, but you don't get the perspective, do you? Stokes in, bowls, and Brooks tentatively pushes forward out into the offside to cover, and there's no run. Carry on.
John Duffield. Vaughan is vulgarian, very tabloid. Also, his various commercial interests compromise his journalistic integrity. 200.
Sorry, Jono, I might have misled you. I believe we've had some of those.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tony. Absolutely. So come on.
I was concentrating on the ball by ball and might have missed one or two of the messages. Have a look at your chat.
Okay.
As you see, Anderson's bowled 12 overs. Archer's bowled 12, none for 41. Jimmy none for 21 for 25. Sorry. Mark Wood bowled all right. I thought it was a bit. I think he bowled better today than he did yesterday. Actually, I mean, both times he's bowled with good pace, but his line hasn't always been particularly consistent. Caused a few more problems today. And speak of the devil, this man's back into the attack.
Do you know Mark Wood?
Yes, he is an England bowler, quite good and pretty quick.
So just a normal guy.
Of course, except for just one thing.
What?
He thinks that he's a horse.
Right. What?
West Indies here have got to be feeling very good, haven't they? They've only lost 1 wicket this morning session. They don't have to score at any rate. Still 2 days left after today, and if they can get a lead of 120, it puts the cat amongst the pigeons, doesn't it?
I would think that would be well worth its weight in gold, with the pitch set to perhaps get slower and the sun set to shine brighter.
Yeah. Well, Woody's coming into bowl now. Up to the crease, bowls. Arrows it in towards off stump. Nicely played by Brathwaite. Drives it just wide enough and mid off that he can scoot through for a quick single. And Dominic Bess picks it up, wipes his forehead with his shades on, and it's not that sunny. Probably doesn't need them, that's what I'd say. Tweets, Jono?
Yeah, tweets. We seem to know where we are now. Right. Also, Simon Brathwaite top scorer in the match so far. Good work, lad. He has actually batted well so far, hasn't he?
He has indeed. Wood in bowls. Oh, he flashed at that one. That's full and outside the off stump. Probably was there to drive. He didn't really get his foot across to the ball and rather wafted the bat through it. Didn't miss the outside edge by much, but he gets away with it, and there's no run.
Arman Gary Naylor. Jason Holder is going to look very good in that tray sheet sleeveless sweater. I do hope he calls for a cap at some point. Well, batting.
Yeah. Stuart Broad wondering, I should have been out there, surely he's thinking. I know you discussed this earlier, Tony, saying it might not have been different, as John B said, but I think it was a rash decision. That's a very straight ball. It's pretty quick, but it's a beautiful drive, straight back down the ground. And Brooks isn't going to quite get full. Don Bess has chased it down, should get back for 3, and indeed does. He moves into the 20s. 22 or 26 deliveries. He's not hanging about.
A few guys with us on Crick Tracker: Shahid Ali, Dibakar Day, Mirjan Balak. Hattie Atkinson says, "I'm just happy you were back to cheer us up." Rizwan Rao, Tahir Khan Lashari, Hafiz Shaheen, Syed Yasir Shah. Great to see you guys. Always a pleasure to have you with us.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Wood is up to the crease, bowls nicely clipped by Brathwaite, and goes out through mid-wicket and they'll get themselves a single. So this is the thing we were talking about at the end of yesterday as well, isn't it? Sheer pace doesn't always do it. You know, that's pretty quick, and he's been the quickest bowler of the match, but if it's straight up and down, batsmen quite like a bit of pace.
I don't know if you guys had the opportunity. Probably not. I watched the Stuart Broad interview with Ian Ward this morning on Sky Sport.
I didn't have the time.
Absolutely fantastic. Very, very honest. Probably not honest enough to get him in trouble, but not far away from. Visibly upset about the fact that he hasn't been picked. Quite evidently disagrees with it as well.
Well, I think that's left alone by Brooks through the keeper. There's no one. I'm in agreement with him. I don't understand why he wasn't put aside.
I think he almost alluded to the fact that he feels that that's his shirt, and that someone needs to forcibly take that off him. And we quite often talk about wicket keepers like Ben Foakes. He's probably is the best wicket keeper, English wicket keeper. But it's like Butler at the minute owns that shirt. So how is it one rule for one and not the same for another?
That is actually a very fair comment. I mean, I think that was my point. I mean, I think he led the attack, amazingly well in South Africa. Didn't always get the wickets, but he was very economical throughout the series. That one's pinged into the ground, and Brooks tries to pull away, gets his head out of the way, but leaves his shoulder there, and it bashes off that and goes square out to point. He's not showing any pain, but I can't imagine.
I think it came off the bat, but I don't think he knew anything about it.
I think it came off his shoulder.
Interesting to have another look.
He dropped his hands, and it came up and hit his shoulder and went out on the offside, and there was no run. So how close to the line did he go, Jono?
He was just very honest. I sent a tweet, and I was like, it's good to see that it obviously means so much to him. He was not upset to the point of looking like he was going to burst into tears, but he's almost, when you're kind of angry.
Well, I think he has a right to be bloody angry.
And he said he was talking to Ed Smith, and he's obviously asked Ed Smith last night for clarification. Stokes apparently told him 6 p.m. before the first morning. I mean, Stuart Broad's a big lad. He's a big, tall lad when you see him. Well, Stokes, he's hard as nails, didn't he? So he probably wouldn't, get intimidated. But
that's too far down the leg side by Stokes as he starts his next over, and it's clipped nicely, just above, sort of hip high, by Brathwaite, all the way down to the fine leg boundary. In fact, for 4 runs.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Did Stokes have any input on the decision?
Well, I think as captain, he will ultimately be the one who,
Well, no, I thought it was in Ed Smith's courts to actually pick the side. I thought that input came from the captain, but
I'm sure Root had something to do with it as well. You'd think.
Maybe Stokesy in outside the off stump. There's no run. I wonder how they were thinking. We got to tell Broady he's not in the side, guys. Can't have been a pleasant thing to have to think about either.
No, absolutely not.
But I'm pretty sure he'll be so riled up. He's going to come back in the next test, because if we lose this for a start, there'll be changes immediately, because it wouldn't have worked. Although we are going to Old Trafford, but I mean, you know, he's straight back in, isn't he?
Yeah, it's funny. Tony and I were saying a couple of days ago about, you know, where's Sam Curran on the list? Where's Chris Wokes? You know,
well, yeah, floaty outside the off stump. Pretty poor ball by Stokes. Full, long, wide half volley, and it's been driven nicely by Brathwaite down to the extra cover boundary, and it's on another one of these.
It's Nissan She. It's Nissan She.
They're fair cruising at the moment, and Brathwaite's looking very good.
Knuckles just sent me a really interesting piece of a really interesting stat. It says that in the last 5 years in England, bowling at 87 miles an hour or higher averages 30 compared to 27 when it's below that mark, which is an 11% difference. It's really interesting. I don't know whether that's something to do with the skill of Broad and Anderson, and obviously them playing more in these conditions.
Well, yeah, I mean, there aren't that one's on. Played from the crease by Brathwaite, driven sweetly along the ground, but straight at cover, and there's no run. I mean, there aren't that many bowlers who consistently bowl over. I mean, there's a few more now, but you go back 3 or 4 years, there weren't that many express pacemen around. You know, I mean, there are now. We've got 2. West Indies have rediscovered pace, and you've got the likes of Shannon Gabriel and Alzara Joseph who can get up there. I mean, you look at the South African attack over the winter. Crikey. Apart from Rabada, that's too short and down leg side. Good. I thought he'd been a good stop down there at fine leg from a diving Jimmy Anderson, but he palmed it over the boundary, and it's another one of these. They're racing along.
The number of the day. Who could ask for more? The number of the day is 4.
I mean, you look at where South Africa bowling stocks are. I mean, some of those tests, the 14 was bowling at sort of 78 miles an hour. That's not very South African.
I referred to Pretorius as a clubby, didn't I, throughout the entire South African series. He is useless. I mean, Norkia's got a bit of fire about him, hasn't he? He certainly lets go a bit, but
been expensive as Stokes.
He has indeed. That's better. That's a good appeal. That seems to have kept low, and it has been given out. It didn't quite get out. Brathwaite's been pinged on the crease, just above his knee roll, probably right in front of his off stump. May have got outside his off stump. Might have just been going over. He's quite a tall man, but umpire gave it out. I think it looked out, and I think he just went for the review there on 0 seconds. He gave it right till the last minute, had a long chat, and it's a batsman's review.
I was definitely in. Were you definitely in?
No. It's not a no ball, just.
Thankfully. He couldn't deal with another one mentally, I don't think.
No, that could be high, you know. It's hitting right at the top of the pads. It's quite skiddy. That was quite a fullish delivery. I don't know.
Strange, because my first impression was it kept quite low. But,
yeah, mine was too. I thought it hit him just above the knee roll, but it's hit him flicked on the top of the pad. It does seem to be flattening out. It could be clipping. It is clipping. It's basically clipping the off bow. It's a good delivery, classic delivery. And Brathwaite, they'll retain the review as it was umpire's call, but the umpires get one back in the positive column even. And
isn't it interesting that when you actually see things live, and then with the benefit of DRS, I mean, we've all gone instantly. That's dead.
Yeah,
that just looks out. But it's then it makes you realise how good these international umpires are, because that's umpire's call on both height and impact.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I never give anything out in a club game. Anyway, here's a jingle.
So get on your bike and take a hike right out of here. Your history, no good for me. Your history, nah.
I don't think I've ever given an LBW out when I've been umpiring a club game.
Presumably that would not be an attitude you take if you were actually bowling rather than umpiring there.
Of course not.
But my experience of watching you bowl is that you expect every
Tony.
ball to be out.
Everything's out when I'm bowling.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's all bowlers though, isn't it?
Yeah,
well, that's true. Yeah, that is true.
John Duffield looks like he's slightly lessened his hatred of Michael Vaughan, saying Vaughan in the 2002 Ashes was some of the best batting I've ever seen. Still a Bulgarian though. Haha.
Yeah, he was.
The first time I heard that, I thought you said Bulgarian, and I thought, well, that's interesting. But
no, he was a fine batsman when he was in flow. Vaughan was very pleasant to watch, wasn't he? But yeah, I met him actually, and he wasn't that bad. I think some of it's a bit of a personnel for the media.
Yeah.
He was actually all right in person. Anyway, we have a new batsman, and it is after his first ball, which is driven pleasantly out through extra cover. Well, they're bowling full, but there's not enough cover out there. That's a good chase down by Don Bess again. He's done a good bit of fielding, got himself a wicket, and Roston Chase gets himself off the mark. No, he didn't. How is this? Oh, sorry, that was the first ball of the next over. I made a big boo-boo. Woody's bowling. It wasn't Stokesy. It was driven out through cover, but it was Brooks. And Roston Chase will now face his first ball, and I'll give him a jingle.
Roston Chase, and what do you get? Cricketer, a village in Somerset. I did some research, and well was done. So now that he's a man, that son of a gun.
Of course, the man who I would say is quite a limited spinner, but managed to get a test best of 8 for against who else but us.
Classic.
Yeah, classic England. I'm sure every other nation has these moments, but
8 for 60 he took.
Yeah, exactly. It seems that we have more than most. Since I've been doing this alternative commentary, which admittedly is 10 years, there have been some very lows and unhealthy statistics that have popped up over the years for England against virtually every nation I've watched us against. Anyway, Wood's going to come in, second ball of the over. He's up to the crease, bowls, and Roston Chase gets behind it and pushes it out square to point. There's no run. 143 for 3, the West Indies. And then we've got those couple. I said 3 wickets for what, 30 runs, didn't I? There's one. Yeah. There's one for about 13.
If we can get an 8 down by lunch, we're probably on the better side of it.
I don't think there's enough time to get them down by lunch. The amount of time they take to get in and out. It's only 18 minutes down. Oh, yeah, if you get 9 wickets, I suppose. In 18 minutes.
Lovely tweet from Cat Jones. The fake crowd noise behind the Sky commentary is effective, but lack of variation for wickets, boundaries and milestones.
It's much like us, funnily enough. Defended out into the offside and there's no run. But the cricket ground has a murmur, and I think having a constant murmur.
Sky doesn't have the man that goes way.
No, he doesn't have the man that goes way.
And we're only going to sell him for about £50 million transfer fee if they want him.
And if you listen very carefully,
compared to ours, she says.
If you listen very carefully, every once in a while there's a "Get him out" in our soundtrack too.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll look out for that one. We'll listen out for that one.
Oh yes, Fred has bought me a beer. What a gentleman. Full ball. Oh, and a Kit Kat. I can't eat that on there, but I can drink beer. Left alone outside the off stump by Chase, and through to the keeper, and there's no run. Any more tweets?
Beer while commentating, do you, Bear?
What? Of course I do.
Absolutely not. Other brands are available.
Yeah, I've had a Stella for a while actually. Are there any more tweets?
Tweets, no, not at this current time.
Oh,
we're out to date.
How are we doing on Cricket Tracker?
Everyone's gone off for an early lunch. I don't know what's going on the field, but they do seem to have... here we go. Wood in bowls, left alone, close to the stumps, came in a little bit. And Roston Chase has left it through to the keeper and there's no run. They'll just be looking to get through to lunch now, won't they? Nothing flash before lunch.
Yeah, I think England would kill for one more wicket this side of lunchtime. They've got a new man at the crease, which will give them some encouragement.
Indeed. Just got to keep changing the bowlers around. I mean, Best did a job, didn't he? Coming on, taking a wicket. Go back to the seamers. Woody's in. Last ball of the over. And Roston Chase plays a little bit away from his pads. Gets his eye over it. His feet didn't really move. Jabbed it down into the ground. Drills out on the offside. End of the over. 143 for 3. And Brooks will take strike on 25 or 29 deliveries.
A couple of guys, the guys with us, Fida Hussain, Saram Babu, Akhtar Khan. Nice to have you with us on Crick Tracker. Keep commenting. Always a pleasure to hear what you guys are thinking.
Absolutely. Stokes is going to continue bowling. 1 for 18, 4 overs. There's another look at Broad. I mean, Broad will be angry. I mean, I guarantee you, if he comes back in next test, he'll take a hatful. And he'll be giving it all to the media box as well, I can imagine. He'll be pointing up there going, you know.
It was Bairstow who famously did that, wasn't it?
Yeah, metaphorically pointing to a number on his shirt, as it were. Stokes in, bowls. Didn't get up as high as maybe Brooks thought. But gets behind it, plays it up to mid-on, no run.
Looks a bit easy-paced, Stokes, today, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it looked like he was almost waiting for that.
Yeah, he does drift in and out with his pace, doesn't he? I mean, he can be really fiery and up near the 90s when he really gets his back into it. And he does thrive on anger. He has to be riled up. Maybe he's too happy.
Knuckle just pointing out that Nasser Hussain was obviously the other one, along with Bairstow, who pointed up at the comms box.
That's right, yes, famously, and defended into the onside, and there's no run. We'll see.
Will frustrate England's management and captaincy and the team generally that the two who have gone wicketless are Wood and Archer.
Well,
so the gun pace pair are the two that have yet to get amongst the wickets.
Well, in reality, neither of them are massively experienced in Test cricket. Wood's been an outside. I mean, how many Tests has Wood played? 12, maybe?
Yeah. And I notice we're now also looking at the ball. They've got the handcuffs out, which has gone through safely enough and been tossed back to Stokes. But those are all telltale signs of frustration.
Indeed. I mean, Archer played. Hold on. Stokes in bowls, up on his toes this time, Brooks, but straight into the ground. There's no run. I mean, Archer didn't play the entire Ashes, did he? And then he played what, three tests? I can't even remember. 3 tests in the Ashes, 3 tests in South Africa. Or was only 2 tests in South Africa? 3.
No, this series.
No. I mean, how many tests has Archer played? And he played the 2 or 3 or whatever it was in New Zealand too, wasn't it? So he's not even got into double figures of test matches, and Woody's been in and outside. The experience is slim.
He's played 7 in total.
Well, there you go. It's not a great deal, is it? Defending the offside and there's no run. I think it helps to have that experience from the other end, you know.
Yeah.
The 2 pros, bring them in one at a time, let them feel comfortable. If you're going to rotate, and if those 2 have to be rotated to get experience, unless they really put the numbers on the board and they get to keep their thing, you know. Wood's never going to be fit for 5 tests in a row anyway, so he's always going to be rotated to a certain degree. Archer less so, if he's on song. Brooks in 25, not out. He's facing up. 2 balls left and his Stokes over as he comes up to the crease. Bowls. This time gets forward. Brooks just defends it out to cover. And there's no run.
Armchair Cricket Podcast. There's 3 boundaries in the over to get the West Indian mainstay out. That's a bargain. Just when the partnership had decided to look threatening, Ben Stokes gets into the act.
Well, that's true. He did get the wicket, and that was important. We should point out at lunchtime, Hendo's going to be speaking to our very own Annie Chave about county cricket matters. Annie's magazine, and I can't think of the word. And I wish I could, because it was going to sound good. Defended into the offside and there's no run. Yeah, she has a magazine, County Cricket Matters, and a podcast. She was telling us she interviewed Gower the other day. This is quite cool. And she'll be telling you all about it at lunchtime. And a little chat with Hendo.
Couple more tweets. I don't like cricket, I love it. Says, why so toxic once stopped playing? Obviously, in relation to Michael Vaughan. He's almost positioning himself as almost the Piers Morgan of cricket, and he's very, very outwardly opinionated, isn't he?
Yes.
I think for the good of the game, in terms of amateur cricket, he's the one. I think it's his article that he wrote, I think in the Guardian, that actually really seemed to get amateur cricket back this summer. So I think we've got a lot to thank him for. He obviously cares deeply about the game.
You don't meet too many inwardly opinionated people because you wouldn't really know what their opinions were, to be fair.
Of course, it starts this weekend. It would and plays into the onside. And there's no run. So you playing tomorrow then, Jono?
So I'm golfing, which first team captain isn't great. But yeah, so we've first of 2 pre-season games. That's from tomorrow, and then in the Surrey Championship, they've designed a competition that will see us play 7 other teams over 7 weeks, obviously. But in a more regional, so it's based on where you are geographically and also standards. So we've got 3 sides from the division above us, 3 from our division, and 1 from the division below. So it should be good fun. Looking forward to it.
Woody in bowl, short. Ooh, it was a bit too down leg side, but Brooks got caught up a little bit, pulled his bottom hand off the bat. I think it hit him there. And just drops in the ground. There's no run. Oh, that means away games. You won't have to travel for an hour and a half if you're.
I think that's the big thing. So I think a lot of people are potentially worried about being in a car for extended amounts of time with people. You know.
Well, I guess not being able to get to places, because I've certainly at our club it was always 3 or 4 drivers meet at the club, grab the kids or whoever, and sort off to miles down the bloody A3. It was always down the A goddamn 3.
I was a local. I mean, we're Rains Park, so we've got Chessington, Worcester Park, people around there.
Yeah, you've got quite a lot around there. Into the hip. Ooh, worked around the corner. Not sure if it came off the bat. Maybe a little bit of bat. Certainly a lot of thigh pad. See what the umpire looks like. He's going to give a leg by. He does indeed. 145 for 3. 3 balls left in the over. Yeah,
I was disappointed not to get Wimbledon actually, because that was my club before moving to Old Wimbledonians, and it's such a beautiful place to play cricket. But alas, they're in a different group, which is a shame.
They're a pretty good side, aren't they, Wimbledon?
Yeah, they are. Well, yeah, good, strong Premiership.
Yeah.
So plenty of decent talent.
All right. So you see Raheem Cornwall sitting there on the side with a towel draped over his shoulders. Defending to your side, and there is no run.
They all look like they were being lined up for a haircut there.
Yeah, they did a bit. I didn't want to say that. I had a haircut, as you can see.
Yeah, you did. It's looking very natty.
I managed to get to a barber on day 2 of
Sunday afternoon.
Lockdown. Yeah, Sunday afternoon. It's very pleasant.
We've got some breaking news in terms of the county game. All 18 counties will now compete for the Bob Willis Trophy in red ball cricket, starting on the 1st of August.
So, you have to explain all that. Wood in, defended by Chase, back down the track to the bowler, and there's no run. 1 ball left in the over.
It's 3 divisions, I think. 3 regional divisions, playing I think 2 or 3 matches each, and then the top teams. The top 2 actually from 3 divisions, so it's based on points, will play in a Lord's final. So there is a Lord's 4-day final to look forward to. And for this year...
What? So hold on. So there's 3 divisions, but so you get
3 divisions, but it ends up with 2 finalists. Yeah, that's a strange one. But these are strange times.
Oh, what? So basically the highest point scorers.
Yeah, exactly.
Who also top the group. Driven nicely by Chase, gets right out to that one. It's a full ball. By Woody, and it's beautifully driven. It's gone down to the extra cover boundary once more, and he's picked himself up 4 more runs.
And I'm sure Annie will cover it in the chat with Hendo. But the counties were initially quite split as to whether they wanted to play more 1-day games and not have a 4-day game. And it tended to be the smaller non-county ground counties non-international ground counties who wanted to play the 1-day game. But I think the majority just fell in favour of playing the longer form of the game, which I think, and I'd love to, I hope Annie's listening somewhere in the background, because I'd love to hear her point of view about, I think that's a real endorsement of, when times are hard and you've really missed your cricket, what do you want to fall back on?
You want
1-day
play,
game,
don't you?
20 over game, or do you want to see real proper cricket that breeds tomorrow's Test cricketers? And I think that the
not
latter.
only that, I imagine the players were going, look, I just want to play, I haven't done anything for months. Brooks defends that square to point, and there is no run.
There will also be a shortened blast tournament starting on the 27th of August, so I think that they were always going to try and get the blast in. Obviously the 100's been pushed back to next year. But that's good, because then it gives people the opportunity to watch some T20 cricket, which is obviously much faster paced, and more enjoyable
Yes.
for the youngsters. Is the,
Well, I mean, this is the thing. Are they going to have any? I mean, I've got to say, you could probably allow crowds at county cricket. Stokes in, bowls defended by Brooks out to cover, and there is no run. I mean, you could have crowds at the Oval for county cricket. They could quite easily, the normal people who go along county cricket, could quite easily social distance. It's outdoors. But I presume it'll all be behind closed doors, yeah?
You'd think so.
Yes, even obviously people do tend to say county cricket is plenty of opportunity for social distancing.
Stokes in, third ball of the over. He's up to the crease, bowls. Oh, wow! He tried to flick that on the leg side, did Brooks. I thought it'd come off the outside edge, but the speed it came off with, I think it actually just clipped the top of his pad and ballooned out behind square on the offside. Fell short of the slips anyway. And there's no run. 149 for 3. Probably this over, maybe one more. And then it'll be lunch. And Duncan Chave has arrived. Of course it's not Duncan. And I shall admit her. Stokes is up to the crease. Comes in, bowls. Forward again is Brooks. And just defends it back to Stokes. And there is no run. They're just playing out for lunch here, which is a sensible thing to do.
The Michael Vaughan conversation seems to be getting a bit of traction. Debbie Knight says he's a man of strong opinions. Are they toxic or just ones you don't agree with? If everybody agreed with everything, then nothing would work, would it?
Stokes up to the wicket. Bowls. Foolish length, defended by Brooks up towards mid-on. Takes the bottom hand off the bat, but does it pretty well. One ball left and it's over. Probably only 7 balls before lunch.
I think he rather revels in his role as Michael Vaughan of being something of an agent provocateur.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that means he's a lingerie model, but that he does actually like just to put his opinions out there and be contentious.
Yeah. If you're saying stuff for the sake of saying stuff just to raise your own profile, there's no value in that.
Nicely whipped by Brooks. It was on a line of about off stump. Went in his crease a little bit, turned his handle on his bat and got it behind square on the leg side. Came back for 2, moves on to 27, chases on 5. And he'll face up to probably the last over before lunch, one would have thought. The clock at the ground says 2.5 minutes. So.
I might leave you for a moment or two, as I believe I'm staying on over lunchtime, which means that I will just need to
refresh
vacate
yourself.
my seat for a short moment.
Okay. Anything else coming in on the Twitter about Vaughan then?
No, that was the last one. But I imagine that this conversation might run a little bit.
Oh well, I thought so.
I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's just some of the things he says aren't. The things outside of cricket, let's say, aren't particularly good, I'd say. But enough of that. Wood in, bowls, short. Chase hops onto his toes and just defends out on the offside. Very content just to get through the lunch.
Interestingly, I think I'm guessing this might be Knuckles put this. I wasn't aware of this, but Michael Vaughan used his Telegraph column to accuse Jonathan Trott and the ECB of colluding to make up a mental illness. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah. See, that seems a bit,
Well,
it's unnecessary,
he will write things and has been known to write things just to.
But see, something like that's just vindictive of why? Why do you write that? I mean, there's
Just
no
the
reason
same
to write
isn't
that. No. Have a controversial, opinion on the rules or the laws of the game or whatever, But, that's a horrible shot by Ross and Jace. Considering we're just about to go through the lunch, he's going to get 4 for it. He's gone back, tried to cut a ball that really wasn't there to cut. It was 2 foot. It was wide, but it wasn't that full. It wasn't that short. It's got an under edge that kind of missed the stumps by much. Let's have a look on the replay. Oh God, yeah, just went past his off stump and then raced down to a very fine leg for 4 runs. So he gets away with it. Tone appears out of a blue background.
It's amazing to watch him come through the background.
It's like you're coming through a curtain, Tone, when you came back into view there.
Like Paul Daniels.
Yeah, woo!
Oh, he can't hear us yet.
No, he can't. Woody in bowls. Gets behind that one this time, though, does Roston Chase, and defends it out into the offside, and there's no run.
Tony, we're just saying that to watch you look like Paul Daniels because you come through the background. It's like you're coming out from between.
Appeared from behind the Crick Tracker / Guerrilla Cricket blue background, and
well, that was the lovely Debbie McGee was worried behind me, worried that we had no hot water, so I had to sort out that little problem as well.
I met David McGee and Paul Daniels once. I worked on some poxy short movie way back in my career, where Paul Daniels was kind of as the hired hand.
All right.
Woody in bowls. Nice drive that by Roston Chase. Falls outside the off stump. It's quick. The faster it comes on, the faster it goes. And that one certainly did race away to the point boundary for 4 runs. That was a nice shot. Considering the one earlier in the over was horrible, but that was a very nice shot. Good timing.
Peter Lloyd mentions has tweeted in something that's interesting. Apparently, there was talk of the county grounds opening as pubs, with their stands classified as beer gardens as a loophole to get people in to watch county cricket.
Oh, now that's an interesting thought.
I'd heard that.
I think they should go. That's a good call. Defended back up to mid-off nicely by Chase, and there's no run. 159 for 3, 1 ball to go, and then it shall be lunch. And we will, as I said, Hendo, Tony and Annie will be talking county cricket over lunch. With all these new develops today, which I'm sure they're got their latest news up with them, they'll be talking about that too, as we watch Mikey Holding, who's looking very happy. Hendo has appeared in view. Wood, last ball of the morning session, is short over Chase's head, doesn't do anything with it, and they should be wandering off for lunch. None for 44 Woody after 11, and they do seem to be wandering off. That does seem to be lunch, am I correct? Yeah, there they go. So the West Indies go to lunch on 159 for 3. Roston Chase is 13 not out of 15 balls. Brooks is 27 not out of 53. The other batsmen on. Craig Braithwaite batted really well, was out for 65. LBW to Stokes. Campbell went last night. Shea Hope stuck around. But it was venture out for 16 of 64 balls by Dominic Best. Floated one up outside the off stump. Tempted that drive after he was getting a bit peppered by Archer, and actually had been given out LBW the over before, but turns out Archer overstepped. The only wickets to fall this morning. England's bowling figures: Anderson's bowled 12 overs, 6 maidens, 1 for 25. Archer 12 overs, no maidens, none for 41. Mark Wood 11 overs, 1 maiden, none for 44. Stokes 6 overs, 3 maidens, 1 for 20. And Dominic Best 6 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 20. And that's your morning's play. I'm going to hand over to Hendo. We're all going to disappear. Annie's going to appear any second now, and we'll be back after lunch.
Thank you very much, Bear. Yes, I'm just waiting for Annie to appear, and there she is. She's joined us.
My magic.
As if incredible, absolutely incredible what we can do these days. Tony is sticking with us as well, because we're going to talk. Well, we're going to talk initially about County Cricket Matters, which is the magazine that Annie has set up and is turning into hopefully a profitable enterprise that she'll, with the money, and she'll give some of it to us. No. I'm hoping it's proving a profitable enterprise, and I imagine it will do, because it's a fascinating thing. I've been sent the 3rd edition of this fine magazine virtually, and I've had a little virtual flick through this morning to find out what's in it. Lovely picture of Annie being dwarfed by a sunflower. I particularly like that. Oh, and she's holding it up now, not the sunflower, but the County Cricket Matters. There it is. That is it in old money, anyway, the printed version. Also, cover art from none other than Jack Russell.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Russell.
Jack has been an absolute star.
Did you have to be blindfolded and taken to his home for him to provide that for you? Because that's what he used to do. He didn't like anyone knowing where he lived.
I don't know where he lives. Well, I do. No, actually, I don't know where he lives. I've sent him copies to his studio, so I don't know where he lives. But
So nobody does. I thought you might have given us the rundown on where Jack Russell hides out.
No. But he has been brilliant. I asked him really early on whether he'd be happy for us to have an image of his on, and he was like, "Yeah, of course."
That's lovely, isn't it? That is absolutely lovely. Now, County Cricket Matters. What I like about this is the play on words, because it's basically County Cricket Matters, but it also matters, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But why, Annie? Why were you, I don't know, inspired to produce this magazine after? We were aware of your love for county cricket, but what was the catalyst for actually turning you into this roving journo?
Well, you know that I wasn't, that 100 thing.
Oh,
the thing that I wasn't that keen on. Last November there were a few of us on Twitter who were very concerned about what the 100 would mean to county cricket. So we got together and said, well, instead of just moaning about it, should we do something? So we brought out this copy.
Hey, there it is.
Crickets in November. Here's one I prepared earlier. So this was November, and it was called the first edition, the 100 Special. And basically, it was a magazine that was full of people talking about the 100 and the concerns they had with it, including me. I had a little article there.
A double-page spread, we call it in the trade.
Spread, yes. Moving on, and we brought out this magazine, and it went down well. It was partly with the Lancashire Action Group, who
we know well as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Who are very have lots of experience in bringing out magazines and stuff. So because they do Not the Spin, and we brought that out, and then they were more keen to carry on being very anti the 100 and more of a sort of protest magazine. And both me and James Butler, who I don't know if you know, he's the cricket badger on.
I do know of him. Yeah. I've never spoken to him, but I do know him.
He does a lot of podcasts, and both him and I and a guy called Jeremy Lonsdale, we had a few meetings on conference calls, and we were talking about where we wanted to go with County Cricket Matters, and we all decided what we wanted was to make a celebration, get county cricket into a focus, but not be a negative thing. So not be all anti the 100, and we wanted to say, look, this is county cricket. Let's get it noticed. Let's get it up there. Let's celebrate the hell out of it. So that's what we wanted to do. So we brought out in March. We brought out this edition,
number 2,
which is another Jack Russell picture of Worcester, which is one of my favourite grounds, and we brought that one out, and it was it still has articles about the 100 in, because it's obviously a big concern for counties, but it's more of a sort of nostalgic look, a bit of this and a bit of that, few interviews, things like that. So that's where we got, and that's why we started it, really, because of the 100, and then it sort of moved on, and I got lots of really, really lovely feedback from people saying this is really important. What it feels like is we've got a platform for lots of people, somewhere where everybody can contribute and feel like it's a sort of family thing. So what I'm really, really keen to bring out in County Cricket Matters is the fact that we can have totally unpublished writers that have never written anything but are really, really keen to have a say, and then some brilliant writers like the likes of Duncan Hamilton. So I want to make it a fan thing and a writer's thing and a player's thing, and get us all together, unify it.
Oh, how lovely! I mean, if you look at, I suppose, the cricket magazines that are on the market, I mean, they cover all parts of the game. Is this designed to be purely about county cricket? There's no move into the test arena or anything like that. Although I did see in your latest edition, you've got various references to that, because you've obviously interviewed people or had people writing who've been first-class cricketers and even test cricketers.
Yeah. It is about county cricket, but I've got an article in this latest one that's based at a ground at Sidmouth, which so that's a Devon ground that. Yeah, a beautiful Devon ground.
Well, it is.
So I've got, and I had a minor counties article in the last one as well. Also. Got things about the Cricket Society and the Cricket Supporters Association in this one, so it is all about county cricket, but there will be sort of overlaps. Of course there will be.
Well, that's quite interesting you mentioned about the cricket societies. I mean, cricket societies are something that have remained sort of peripherally in my mind. I've always been aware of them, but never really been aware of what they do. And I've always worried that actually if you went to a meeting of a cricket society or you joined it, there'd be you and 3 anoraks.
Tony and I went, didn't we?
We've been to one, and I have to say, together we brought the average age of the audience down quite dramatically. Even if Annie hadn't been there, I would have brought the average age of the audience down quite dramatically. So it was extraordinary. But it was a lovely evening, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
It was a lovely
really
evening.
great.
It was at Gloucestershire, by the way, and it was they were beautifully hosted.
What do they do? What do cricket societies actually do? I mean, is it just a way of getting away from the winter blues? It's somewhere to go once a month or once a week or something like that?
They have
just
guest
talk about
speakers.
cricket with like-minded people, yeah?
We went. Annie and I went because it was Paul Smith was the guest speaker, and we, I'd interviewed him. I'd gone up to Warwickshire to Edgbaston and spent about 2 hours in his room. We're doing an extensive interview with him.
Yeah,
so got to know him. Annie was getting to know him, because he's clearly looking to raise his own profile quite successfully, I think, at the moment.
Yeah.
And we knew he was speaking, and we just said, "Oh, do you know what? Let's go and watch and see." And it was a great evening. It was convivial. He's a very engaging speaker.
We went out to dinner afterwards, didn't we?
Being driven around in his old jalopy was quite an entertainment. You seriously thought every time you turned a corner one of the wheels was going to fall off, because it was literally that old and knackered.
But it's quite a bit like being driven by the bear in some ways.
Well, imagine the bear, but driving a clown car that's likely to fall apart as you go around every corner. That was basically Paul's.
That is truly terrifying. It really is.
It was.
And of course, Gorilla listeners will know that Paul Smith subsequently came on Gorilla Cricket, didn't he? For a couple of days. I guess that was the South Africa series that we ended up doing in January. But going back to these cricket societies, I think I read there's something like 30 of them around the country. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, this one, the one that's the articles that is in my magazine is from the Cheltenham Cricket Society. Right. But at the moment they're doing wonderful things like doing online meetings. There's a writer tonight that I'm going to tune into. So basically the evening is go along. There's a bar, of course, that's important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a speaker who will be interviewed by a guy at the front, and then people get to ask questions at the end. And the speech, the talks are all about cricket, so everybody has their own opinions and likes to join in and say, well, I saw this person on back in 1953, and all that sort of stuff. So it's
great nostalgia. But with my ECB commercial and marketing hat on, would I be right in saying that the cricket societies have got a lot to do to reflect the younger demographic and to actually get younger people into them?
Yeah, you would be.
I would be right. Okay, well I'll move on swiftly from that. But talking about your the particular edition that I've just had a little look through, these are some of the names that people will know. Duncan Hamilton talks about, I suppose, a blue mood being lifted by going to county cricket. He lived up in the lovely Yorkshire Dales and gets to go around the Yorkshire grounds quite a lot. David Lloyd has done an interview with you, and one of the things that I picked out from that, which I thought was really interesting, was him talking about when minor counties were involved, especially when they were involved in what was initially the 60 over competition, then became, goodness knows, 55, 50, I can't remember now, and going to these places like Dorset. And in a sense, I mean, you didn't ever see many upsets where the minor counties beat counties, but it was quite interesting to hear him talk about the fact that he found that a little bit unnerving, going to a place where he knew nothing about the cricketers at all. Well, I suppose once you're on the county circuit and you've been on for a number of years, you do know what to expect, but you're going to perhaps a smaller ground, an out ground perhaps even, and you're dealing with players that you won't have been able to study in the past. So it's quite an interesting viewpoint to get, or angle to get from someone like Bumble.
Yeah, no, he was really, really keen on doing those minor county games. It was one of those things where he just thinks that really, really should be continued. And yeah, like you said, I mean, of course they won't know the players. The pitches will be probably not in as good a shape as the ones they play on. So I think he thought that it could have real value. And I mean, I disagree with Bumble on quite a number of occasions and topics, but that was one of the things I thought. Yeah, it would be a really
minor counties used to be as a collective used to be a fixture in their own right. I don't many counties would play them as pre-season along with the universities, and I think that is an element of the game which they're even now talking about taking first class status away from university fixtures, which I think is desperately sad. And I think the minor counties fixture also used to count as first class when, so say for example Middlesex played the minor counties, it would be like minor counties England. There would be the select team from the minor counties, and I think that's obviously this year you put to one side as being a totally different year, but the loss of that in the fabric of the game I think is a real shame, because that select minor counties team is really something to aspire to. And obviously it's a part of a pathway, and I think one of the things that you need to always think in terms of all forms of county cricket is it's an essential step in the pathway, and so much of the discussion around county cricket often seems to forget that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just, I mean, apart from talking about what inspired you to start the magazine, I suppose a big question that I would put is what is it about county cricket? Well, and this question is to both of you, really. What is it about county cricket that is so important to you and that you love so much?
Personally, it's a lot to do with having a team focus that you have and you've grown up with. A bit like supporting England. You've got your team, you've got your Somerset team that you've watched the players grow, you've watched you've kind of grown up with them and feel a part ownership to. It's partly that, it's partly the atmosphere at county matches is so much, it's just what I really enjoy. It's more laid back, it's quieter, it's friendlier, you do feel in a bit of a family bubble, and that whole sense of just wandering around chatting to people where with the play going on, and is very different than a test match level or certainly as far as I'm concerned the shorter format.
Is it something about, I mean, it's something that I'll come to you in a minute, Tony, but it kind of reminds me of the way I feel about Wimbledon football, AFC Wimbledon football, in the sense that it's not necessarily that you know everybody there, but you know the faces.
Yeah, that's right.
You feel that sense of familiarity, of just being around those, and sense of belonging, having those people around you. And
you're all there for the same purpose. You're all there to support. I mean, obviously, apart from the opposition fans, but Yeah, no, it is. It's very different. I mean, I support Exeter City, so it's a very similar thing. You know, I go along to Exeter City and you see all the same faces, and you know, but you're all there with a passion that is shared, and it's just a delight.
Do they still announce the crowd changes to the team there, Annie?
It's a bit like when I go to a jazz concert and there's more people playing than actually watching. I've been to a few of those. But Tony, for you, I mean, how did Middlesex get into your veins?
Oh, well, God, since I was probably 10, started going. And then I lived in St John's Wood when I left home. Even before I left home, I was working in London in Paddington, so I could. It was just up the road. So I've been kind of going now to Middlesex for 45 years, I think, maybe slightly more than that. And I think Middlesex is interesting because it's got this depth of history. I mean, when you got to think of the likes of DCS Compton, and you're never far away from touching that history or feeling part of that history because you're playing at Lord's. So I think I'd be lying if I said that the Lord's link with Middlesex isn't something of an attraction. I think the quality of the product, you know, it is nice to have all these warm, emotional, belonging, social values, and Annie's 100% right, they are all there. But, you know, it's very easy to think of, you know, remember, at the top level of county cricket, these are tomorrow's England players, they're current internationals. They're where overseas players come to get used to playing in English conditions to make them better at that. And you see the absolute cream of the game still in county cricket. So I think the product is absolutely there as well. You know, it's all too easy too often to, you know, say, well, it's 4 days of not much happening in front of empty stands, and that simply is unfair and untrue because the crowds are there. If you, particularly at a weekend, you go to Hove, down to Hove at a weekend, you'll find a very full ground. And indeed, that's true of many other grounds. So I think all this is true, but never forget the quality of the product, which is still pretty jolly good.
Is it a misconception, you think, out there amongst the wider public regarding the popularity of county cricket? As you say, if you go at a weekend, you might easily get a crowd of 2,000 or 3,000, and in Lord's or the Oval, that doesn't look like a lot. But when you think about it, there are people every weekend going to lower league football, 3,000 or 4,000 a time going, and everyone's, you know, saying that's not a bad crowd. So is it just because sometimes these games are played in cavernous or relatively cavernous stadiums, and maybe it's a little bit different for you, Annie, going to Taunton a lot? I mean, does that feel how busy does it have to be for that to feel reasonably full?
Well, it's not a huge ground, is it? So we regularly get 2,000 to 3,000 there for a county game, and that feels fairly full. I mean, it's probably half full, therefore. But yeah, I think this misconception is also very much led by those at the top. The ECB, the amount of people that I hear, commentators. What was it? Tufnell was saying the other day, oh well, COVID would be all right because there's nobody that goes to county anyway. You know, I think you get an idea and then it just sticks, doesn't it? And
it does.
I think it is potentially really damaging, and this is what I said back to Tufnell was, you know, this isn't a good thing to be saying when this is your game, and it's not true. I mean, yes, it's true that most of the fans are white, older men. Yes, of course, because they're the ones that have always loved the game.
Did someone mention my name?
Yeah, sorry, Tony. Yeah, but they're also retired and they can afford to go for 4 days. You know, and they have the time. So it's going to be.
Yeah, I wonder about it. I mean, I heard there was a little bit of chat just before the lunch break during the commentary on Michael Vaughan. I don't know whether we got a chance to play the Michael Vaughan jingle. Hopefully we did, but maybe not. And you know, he tries to be controversial. I mean, I don't think he is naturally controversial. He just tries to be controversial to keep the spotlight upon him, and doesn't really realise what potential damage he's doing. I suppose one thing in his favour is that he has come out and talked strongly for rectional cricket to come.
He has done that.
So that is a good market on his behalf. The other thing I was going to say is, if I do go to county cricket now, I don't have that much time to do it now, but if I do, because of the relationships I've made through Test Match Sofa and Gorilla and on Twitter, I suppose, I always expect that I will end up seeing someone at the ground and we'll be chatting and we'll be watching the game. But I think back to a few years ago, and certainly when I was a lot younger, and I was a junior member at Surrey, and I would just go to the game on my own, or I might even go just for a session on my own. And one of my favourite activities was basically eavesdropping. Because you hear some absolutely fascinating conversations. You see little groups of people who know each other a little bit, but not deeply, I think. And you get some fascinating little snippets of information that you can come your way, and you find yourself trying to create a world in which these people live. And I find that an absolutely fascinating thing to do.
Yeah,
whenever I go to watch Middlesex, sorry Annie, go on.
No, I was just going to say I love I think it is one of the only ways to go to county cricket is to go by yourself, because you get. I love going by myself. Like you say, you eavesdropping. You see the old guys with the scorecards, and and you chat to people that you wouldn't chat to if you were with other people. So yeah, I think it is wonderful what you can hear. Carry on, Tony.
Well, no, I was going to say the social side. There's a couple of things that I think is really well done in county cricket. One is if you're a county member, your membership is, I think, everywhere reciprocal. So if I go to Worcestershire, then I'm welcomed into their members area. When I went to watch Lancashire last season at Middlesex at Lancashire, I could happily sit in the Lancashire pavilion, with Brian Statham's bloodstained boots behind me, chatting to Lancashire members, Derbyshire. So every county you go to, imagine doing that in football. If you're away, if all your fans are allowed into the same social areas as all the home fans, it'd be a nightmare. But in county cricket, you can do that now. Admittedly, Somerset, if they see a Middlesex fan, I think they've trained Brian the cat to glare at them.
He's quite a grumpy cat, that one.
Well, he is when he sees any Middlesex fans, because, as I say, I think he's been trained that way. But
it's because he's a redhead.
That socialness is there.
He's ginger.
It's a red.
I don't know about you, Hendo. Sorry, go on.
I was just saying, the cat's a ginger. That's why he's so aggressive.
Well, and you know what? I do the same thing at football, but to a certain extent. So if I'm going away, I will quite often find very friendly local home fans to chat to. So even if I will go and watch Middlesex away, and I'll probably be squirreled away in the with a beer in the pavilion members area, normally with friends. Ali, I tend not to go on my own when I travel to watch cricket. I go with friends. But the other thing I always do, and they always go, "Where are you going to?" You go off again. They think because I'm old and I'll just be going to the loo every time. but actually I'm not. But actually I'm not. I will be going for a walk around the ground. So I'll have a walk around the ground, and I'll just station myself next to people. I did it, interestingly enough, when I was in Australia.
Yeah.
And I loved my time in the Sydney Pavilion. Trust me, strip away your basic Aussie, and I stood with New South Wales fans around what they call the barrel of bullshit in the Sydney Pavilion. The barrel of bullshit. And I met the most wonderful group of people. Annie, you would love them. If I haven't introduced you, I'm going to. They're called the barrel of bullshitters, and they are the New South Wales equivalent. They're the county cricket fans of Australia. And you realise, strip it away. If you're walking around Derbyshire, you're going to meet someone who says it's not as good as it used to be. Why this player is terrible. Why this player is great. If only we still had Alf Higgins, who took 27 wickets in 1903. And the conversation, the types, the personality types are the same. And actually, if you strip it all away, the same emotion, the same power of emotion is there as in football. And wherever you do it in the world. So I have a personal aspiration, having kind of done it in Australia, because I did this sort of a strange thing, whereas I went to Australia at a time when there were no test matches on. Bizarre. So I thought, well, what I'm going to do is watch the equivalent of county cricket, and I realised here were kindred spirits, and I've realised that one of my life aspirations now is to do the same thing in India, the same thing in New Zealand, the same thing in South Africa.
That sounds wonderful.
And just go and watch the level below the international cricket, because I think that way you will meet the beating heart and soul of what makes the cricket in that particular country tick. The Ranji Trophy gets very badly supported in India, I think. But look at the quality of players it produces, and look at how the likes of Virat Kohli stand behind it and go and realise that of course they want the money, and of course they want the glory, and of course they want the glamour and the glitz that comes with the IPL and one day World Cups, but they still hold the 5-day Test match as the pinnacle of the ultimate test, the ultimate challenge. It's called a test for a reason. And they realise that you don't play that without doing the hard yards at county or at Ranji level. And this is the one thing where Michael Vaughan, I think, does get my goat. I quite often don't rise to his bait, because I know we like to get annoyed and other people do it better than me. But it does feel like pooping on your own doorstep when you're talking about a man who captained us to an Ashes victory, England to an Ashes victory in 2005, and that quite rightly has been celebrated and famous because of that. It is pooping on your own doorstep to then diss the very format of the game that actually got him the opportunity to do that. There we are. I've said my piece, and I hope he's listening.
Well, I'm trying to think. There's that famous Shakespeare phrase from Julius Caesar, something about alighting the ladder and ignoring the base degrees by which you did ascribe or climb. I think something along those lines. It's you don't appreciate what you've come through. It makes me think, and Annie, you might come in on this, that county cricket has a much better profile outside England and Wales than it does here in some ways. It's appreciated more, and it brings me on to something that was in your magazine, an article by Dilip Doshi, the left-arm spinner, Indian who played for Nottinghamshire for many years. And it is quite interesting reading what he was saying about county cricket and how he absolutely loved it, and he'd still got all these relationships with people that he'd had for years. And he was like saying he's one of those few people who's probably played in every form of the game, from sort of lowly club cricket through second 11 into the first team, and then Test cricket as well. Lovely little snippet of information, wasn't there, about the fact that he's upset about the fact that he wasn't allowed to play in the John Player League initially because they didn't think it was his sort of game. And then when he finally gets a chance, he ends up with the most incredible figures of 8 overs. I mean, it was 8 overs if you don't remember, or if you don't know. The John Player League was a 40-over side format on a Sunday, and it was restricted to 8 overs per bowler. And he ended up with figures on one occasion of 8 overs, 7 maidens, 1 for 1.
Well, you talk about Hendo. You talk about why we're affiliated with our counties, and to me, the John Player League was a huge part of that, because I get to go to Middlesex on a Sunday afternoon at Lord's, and I remember watching Clive Lloyd, Viv Richards, Barry Richards, even fantastic, the best players of their time, close up. In what was still sort of quite a novelty sort of action, and old Jim Laker used to introduce it, didn't he? With the old the John Player League. But for a young chap, that form of cricket was a bit of a gateway to the bigger game, because you could absorb the sort of shorter format, and I still think that is true to a certain extent.
Yeah, and I think
watch a T20, then you get to understand the broader canvas of the more nuanced, longer form of the game as you mature.
It's a kind of apprenticeship both for players and for spectators in a way. Would you agree?
Absolutely, yeah. Just going back to what you were saying about counties being respected almost more than by other countries. It's very, a lot of people have said to me how, Paul Smith, I remember talking to me about how important the overseas players can, and then there's been so many overseas players that have said how important it is, going even the current West Indies side now, so I think we should we really should rate it more, or certainly the ECB or the general journalists everywhere should be bigging it up more. They really should. It's such an amazing system.
Well, I suppose part of that, if we talk about marketing, is when I was a kid, you'd have at least 3 papers, the Guardian, the Telegraph, and the reports of county cricket matches. Now you very rarely get that. You might get a couple of matches selected, say in the Times, the same with Telegraph, and it's all focused really on the national team now, isn't it? Really, it's I don't know whether it's because they haven't got the money, they don't think people are interested, but I think the facts are there, aren't they? We talk about, okay, the grounds themselves may not actually be that full because, let's face it, it's played at a time when most people are still doing some variation on 9 to 5. So you're not going to get huge crowds of certainly younger people going to.
But you can get over that to a point by starting your 4 days or finishing your 4 days. Preferably starting, because you never can guarantee a game will go 4 days, as we know. At a weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But they haven't been doing that until this season. Ironically enough, there were a lot of Friday starts this season, in May especially. So that's a real shame that didn't happen, because it would have been really interesting to see what sort of crowds we got. But there's looking a bit more positively, there is also the addition of the live stream, which has been massive and a huge following. We really have had so many people watching it. People like my father, for example, who can't get to the ground. It's been such an important thing for him to have that live stream to watch. So that's a real plus.
I found it very difficult to get into live streams on the basis that you only really get to see the pitch and very small area, and you don't have that panning back of the camera to be able to pick up where the ball's gone and that sort of thing.
But you have the commentary as well.
Yeah, but I did. Yes, you do have that. And the other thing is, I did watch some of the live stream of the England intra-squad warm-up game, and I actually found it more instructive than I thought it would be. I mean, I certainly just in watching a couple of overs of Ollie Robinson, you suddenly thought, hang on, this boy's got something, really important. And I suppose that brings it into your house in a way that if you haven't got reporters and journalists going to county cricket, if they're not looking at who's going to be the next person pushing for an England place, then you can actually, by beaming it into people's homes, they can see it there, can't they?
Well, it's a lifesaver as well. I mean, it's true of football as well, by the way, particularly for live commentary. There isn't. I've travelled around the world on business, and there's many duvets in many countries. At very strange hours I've laid under, listening to either Middlesex, struggling away trying to force a draw on day 4, or Watford desperately hanging on to a 1-0 lead.
Somerset have had far worse than Middlesex. Come on, I've had some terrible.
Big old gap in the trophy cabinet to fill, Annie. It'll happen one day.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to have to wrap up there, to be honest, because we're going to be back live very shortly. Just Annie, can you just tell us where you can get a copy of County Cricket Matters?
Okay. Yes, you can go onto my website and order the hard copies from countycricketmatters.com. They're also available on Amazon Kindle.
Okay. Can you stay with us? Can you take over my Twitter duties for the first session afterwards, because I've got to make some important phone calls, but I'll come back to that. Is that all right with you, Annie? Can you do that? Are you free enough to do that?
Yeah, I'm not set up, but I will try and get set up.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting for play to resume, I will just say that I give the final word. I think it's Russell Chapman who wrote a piece in in County Cricket Matters called "Why I Love Surrey," and one of the great quotes from it is about Aaron Haranath, who we've had on Guerrilla Cricket, if you remember, at the Groucho Club and once or twice otherwise. Aaron Haranath, a man who made batting seem like a community order handed down by Guildford magistrates.
Yes.
Which I think is we shouldn't mock, but he was a stoic player, wasn't he? More than a blistering one, I have to say. Anyway, that's it from me. I'm hoping that John Batham has arrived. He's about to take over ball by ball.
Farewell.
Farewell, Tony. Farewell. Oh, Annie's staying to do Twitter. I'll be coming on a little bit later.
So you're doing mine, are you? Or
I will do. I will let you know. All right.
Okay.
Okay. But I've got to make some quite important work-related phone calls. Okay. I will hand over to John, who I think is now in position with his remarkably wonderful beard. The facial hair is looking particularly good. I hope he's got his beard oil to hand. Over to you, John.
Yeah, definitely need some beard oil, Hendo, without any doubt. But yes, I'm in position.
How much he's played.